Chapter 413. Hinata wants to stay by Naruto-kun's side all the time. I don't want to leave Naruto-kun anymore. 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 Over and over again, Hinata's sweet voice played in Naruto's mind uncontrollably. Is this Hinata's confession? Naruto's heart was filled with joy. However, at this time Little Ninetales said something, and it was as if a basin of cold water was poured all over his body. Although it was only one sentence. This girl is so cute. Of course my Hinata is cute. But being cute has nothing to do with you. Little Ninetales continued. Her hands are so soft, it feels so comfortable to touch, pinch it and see. Soft hands? Feels so comfortable to touch? Pinch it and see? Soft your ass. Comfortable your ass. Pinch your ass. Naruto took Hinata's hand and transmitted the information Naruto felt to Ninetales through the spiritual link. Immediately, Naruto directly cut off the spiritual link with Ninetales. If he hadn't seen Ninetales' memories, he wouldn't have cared about these trivial matters, but now he felt that every hair on Ninetales' head was full of malice. At this time, Kabuto from the spiritual network found him. All the records about the curse seal left by Orochimaru have been sorted out. When do you want it? Naruto replied. No hurry, give it to me after the limb transplant surgery for Guni and the others. Naruto found that Orochimaru was offline again as soon as he came back. But in a sense, Orochimaru has fulfilled his promise. Naruto-kun, did I say something wrong? Hinata saw Naruto's face suddenly turn black, like the angry Shiba Inu that wanted to bite someone, and she couldn't help but feel afraid. Ah, it's okay, it's nothing to do with you. Where were we at just now? Hinata blushed. Hinata wants to stay by Naruto-kun's side. Naruto was healed again. Alright. Follow me from now on. That's right. From the beginning, Naruto had always wanted Hinata to stay by his side, but Hinata herself wanted to go to some mercenary guild. However, the mercenary guild couldn't just ignore it. At the very least, he couldn't ignore the president and the others. Naruto immediately unsealed the body of the pufferfish from the corpse coffin, and then his spirit body entered it. Gurgle gurgle. After the blowfish's body was successfully activated, its stomach began to rumble. Hinata stood by the side. Is Hinata cooking for Naruto-kun? Naruto waved his hand and found the prepared soldier food pills in the coffin. He raised his head and swallowed one. I'll taste the food later. Just use the soldier food pills to deal with this body. With that, Naruto lay back down in the coffin. I'm going to gather some information. I'll be back soon. In the spiritual world of the pufferfish, Naruto pressed his hand on the mental link with the little flying squirrel. The next moment, his spirit body was sucked in. When it reappeared, it was already in the little flying squirrel's body. The little flying squirrel opened its eyes. The surroundings were a little dark, but Naruto could tell at a glance that this was Dedale's clay bag. Dedale is still on a mission? Naruto stretched and yawned. Then his stomach rumbled. Is there anything to eat? Naruto crawled out of Dedale's clay bag. Outside, Dedale and Scorpion stared at the little flying squirrel in surprise. You're awake? If you sleep any longer, I'll wonder if I'm raising a pig. Naruto mocked. Have you ever seen a pig that can sleep as much as I do? Dedale shook his head and replied. You're more like a pig than a pig. The little flying squirrel rolled its eyes at Dedale. At the same time, when Naruto and Dedale reunited after a long separation, Naruto's main body sat up by itself. He sniffed and moved closer to Hinata's face. Hinata looked at Naruto in surprise and asked carefully, Teacher Nine Llamas? Little Ninetales shook its head. No. My name is Little Nine, not Teacher Nine Llamas. By the way, why are you all calling me Teacher Nine Llamas? Isn't it unpleasant to hear? With that, Ninetales continued to move closer to Hinata. Hinata's face turned red from her ears to the top of her head. Teacher Nine Llamas, what are you doing? Little Ninetales reluctantly said. Didn't I say that my name is Little Nine, not Teacher Nine Llamas? You smell so good. As he said that, he grabbed Hinata's hand and squeezed it. He was surprised and said, Oh, it really feels very comfortable to touch. Then he praised. You look very cute, it's decided. Then little Ninetails made a hand seal. Transformation technique. Bang. Ninetails manipulated Naruto into Hinata's appearance. Ninetails squeezed his hand. Transformation technique doesn't really change the body. It just uses chakra to confuse the vision, so whether it's the touch or the smell of the body, it's Naruto. Ha! It's not soft to the touch. And it's not fragrant. The ninjutsu in Naruto's mind is really useless. But after looking in the mirror, he was very satisfied. At least it looks a lot cuter. Little Ninetails' busy appearance made Hinata stunned. After coming back to her senses, she asked foolishly, "Teacher Nine Llamas, what are you doing?" Little Ninetails, who looked like Hinata, said fiercely, "My name is Little Nine. Little Nine. Little Nine. How many times can you remember it?" Hinata quickly bowed and apologized. "I'm very sorry that. Little Nine?" Little Ninetails, who looked like Hinata, finally nodded with satisfaction. "That's right." Hinata couldn't help but ask again, "Nine. Little Nine, what are you doing?" Little Gio, who looked like Hinata, pouted her lips cutely. She pinched her cheeks with 2 fingers and said, "Am I cute?" Hinata looked at her own appearance and didn't know how to answer. If she said cute, wouldn't it be a bit shameless? However, little Ninetails didn't intend to let Hinata go. Say it, am I cute?" Hinata opened her mouth and held back for a long time before finally saying, "Cute." Then little Nine ran away happily. When she saw people, she asked if she was cute. She still looked like Hinata, which made Hinata feel ashamed. There was no other way. Little Nine could only run in front, and Hinata chased all the way to explain to everyone. Fortunately, Hinata had Byakugan, or else she would have lost her. The Great Snow Mountain Research Institute was in a mess. Deidara and Sasori's side was much more harmonious. Naruto sat on Deidara's shoulder. Like a national leader, he ate the snacks that Deidara handed over, and asked at the same time, "Is there anything interesting while I was sleeping?" Deidara laughed and said, "The most interesting thing is to see a pig that can sleep for 2 months in a row." Ahahaha. Naruto's swallowing throat suddenly paused. Looking at Deidara, who was laughing awkwardly with a dignified face, he asked indifferently, "Are you happy to be mischievous?" Deidara shrugged. "Well, this doesn't sound very funny. There's nothing fun anymore. We took 2 missions in a row and didn't complete them. Is this funny?" Well, Sasori next to him had a cold face. Naruto also found that it was impossible to get useful information from the unreliable Deidara. "Why don't we go back to the Clown Emperor's hot spring hotel in the Lightning Kingdom? Maybe they're still waiting for me there." Chapter 414. Snowy Mountain Research Institute. Naruto was fiddling with a scroll. This is the scroll that sealed the soul of Orochimaru's arm in the past. Now that the seal is unlocked, the soul sealed inside is gone. Orochimaru still has a few tricks up his sleeve. Naruto wasn't angry, instead there was a smile on his face. The last time Naruto reincarnated Danzo and accidentally reincarnated the first Naruto, Naruto had already discovered that the scroll seal couldn't stop the soul summoning of Edo Tensei. However, Naruto didn't take it too seriously because Orochimaru was still alive, and Edo Tensei didn't work on Orochimaru. But he didn't expect Orochimaru to succeed. In this way, there is only one possibility. Orochimaru himself made a jutsu that can summon the soul of a living person. He's a genius. Naruto sighed again. According to the deal, Orochimaru provided the cloning technology and the curse seal, and Naruto returned Orochimaru's hands. Now that the cloning technology and the curse seal have been obtained, the deal is considered complete. It's just, the only thing that worries Naruto is, can Sasuke deal with Orochimaru with his hands intact? There should be no problem. After all, Sasuke is the reincarnation of Indra. To put it bluntly, he is the chosen person of this world. Originally, if he didn't know that the world is alive and has its own will, Naruto would think that everything is the arrangement of Hagoromo Sannin. The existence of Indra and Azura is to seal Otsutsuki Kagaya again. But now that he knows that the world is alive, everything is different. All of this should be the will of this world, whether it's Azura, Indra, or Hagoromo Sannin, they are just the arrangement of that person. Naruto was lost in thought, and Kabuto communicated with Naruto through the spiritual network. The test results of the alien fruit have come out. I really can't believe that you can come back alive after being poisoned by this substance. It's a miracle. Naruto's thought moved and remotely triggered the clone talisman array on the floor where Kabuto's laboratory is located. It was a talisman array drawn on the wall. The moment Naruto triggered it, the rune array on the wall suddenly lit up. Then Naruto's doppelganger walked out of the wall. Her red hair hung down to her heels, swinging gracefully as she walked. However, each strand of hair was very thick and hard, so it didn't look gentle and beautiful, but rather domineering and arrogant. Oh, what's inside? Naruto controlled the doppelganger through a mental link. What the doppelganger saw and heard was the same as what he experienced. At the same time, in Medicine Master's Pocket's laboratory, in a few jars, the living body parts of Gurney and the others had been unsealed, and were in the process of being reactivated. Just like frozen meat, you have to put it in water to soften it before you eat it. Beside a pile of sophisticated instruments that had never existed before, Medicine Master Pocket stood there and observed the data displayed on the instruments. Liang Dao also has to thank Orochimaru for these instruments, because Orochimaru was the one who supplied these instruments. It was used for illegal human research and was almost impossible to find on the market. The data analysis is still not complete, so we can only observe the effects by infecting living cells. Because this substance isn't a bacterium, nor is it a virus. It doesn't have an organic structure, but it's still alive. Naruto leaned closer and looked at the screen on the instruments. The black substance extracted by Medicine Master Pocket was dissolving living cells. The living cells aged instantly, and the whole process happened in an instant. Only by recording it and playing it in slow motion could one see it more clearly. Interesting. Ha! Have you tried it on a living body? Medicine Master Pocket chose to record other scenes and played them for Naruto. In the video, a white mouse instantly rotted after coming into contact with the substance, turning into a pile of ash? Medicine Master Pocket said. I haven't tried it on a prisoner, but I don't think it's much better than a mouse. Naruto frowned. This is a little different from when I was poisoned. At that time, my lips were swollen, and then I lost consciousness. Medicine Master Pocket's eyes lit up, and he stared at Naruto with bright eyes. Then why don't we test it on you again? Ha! Naruto turned to look at Medicine Master Pocket. You've been a little naughty lately. Medicine Master Pocket's expression froze and he quickly apologized. I'm just doing it from an experimental point of view. Ha ha ha. Naruto rolled his eyes. You can extract some of my blood for research, but don't even think about using me as your lab rat. Medicine Master Pocket quickly replied. Yes, I don't even dare to think about that. Naruto watched the video again. This poison is really strong. Extract some for me to carry, and if I can kill anyone I meet it'd be great. Medicine Master Pocket shook his head. This poison is very infectious, and we haven't found a way to control it yet. If it's released, I'm afraid the world will be finished. That scary? Naruto pointed at himself. Then I don't have this on me, do I? Medicine Master Pocket shook his head. From your physical examination, I didn't find anything unusual. Naruto breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. However, he already felt that he had accidentally brought back a few super dangerous things. If they were leaked. Well, it seems that this floor of the laboratory needs to be further sealed and strengthened. After talking about the alien fruit, Naruto's gaze shifted to the limbs of Guru and the others. It seems that the living limbs have been reactivated. Do an organ rejection test. If there are no problems, the surgery will start tomorrow. Then Naruto's shadow clone disappeared. Naruto's main body smiled and threw aside the scroll that once sealed Orochimaru's soul. Forget it. Thanks to Orochimaru, Guru and the others can finally have a real arm. Let's call this transaction a friendly end. As for Sasuke, he would try his best to help, but only try his best. Since Sasuke chose to grow up in the shadow of Orochimaru, Sasuke chose to grow up. As a friend, he should more or less support Sasuke's wishes and give some encouragement at the right time. Thinking this, Naruto contacted Tobirama, who was heading to the Land of Lightning, Haven't you arrived yet? Tobirama replied. Soon, give me 5 more minutes. In an unknown stone forest in the land of lightning, Tobirama climbed a steep stone mountain, and then took off the bow on his body. This is a new tactic that Naruto came up with on a whim, shooting arrows with the flying thunder god jutsu on the arrow. In this way, Tobirama can use the flying thunder god jutsu to speed up his progress. Of course, Naruto first asked the Edo Tensei squad to summon Tobirama to the border of the land of fire. Otherwise, even if they rely on this trick, they won't be able to reach the land of lightning from the land of snow in 2 days. In the stone forest, on the highest stone mountain, Tobirama stretched his arms and pulled the bow in his hand into a full moon. An arrow pointed straight at a small town a few kilometers away. Dang! The arrow was shot, and in the next moment, Naruto disappeared. Chapter 4:15. Tobirama arrived at the hot spring hotel. According to Naruto's instructions, he quickly contacted Zero. Then Naruto appeared in front of Zero through the system's shadow clone rental function. President, where are they? Zero looked at Naruto, who suddenly appeared in front of her in surprise. She replied, I want to ask you where you went. You disappeared for so long without saying anything. Don't you know that everyone is worried about you? Zero's expression was serious, as if she was scolding her son who went out to play. Well, it could also be her younger brother. Naruto awkwardly scratched his head. Naruto's original plan was to settle everything in one night. Who knew that Ninetales would start having fun in the sky? That there was a little accident. Zero glared at Naruto and said, Anyway, it's fine as long as nothing happened. At this time, Zero thought of the other person who disappeared with her. What about 06? Is she with you? Naruto called Hinata through the spirit network. Come and see Zero. She's a little worried about you. Then Hinata's shadow clone appeared in front of Zero. Zero was surprised. You're not here? You sent your shadow clone here? How did you do it? Naruto waved his hand. I'll explain later, I have a lot of things to tell you all, so I'll tell you all at once. Where are the president and the others? Did they go on a mission? Zero sneered. 2 members of the guild went missing at the same time. How could they be in the mood to do a mission? Naturally, they went to find you. You guys are really troublesome. Find them? Where to find them? The North Pole? Impossible, right? Where did they go? Zero replied. When they left, they said they were going to the Fire Country. I don't know where they are now. Fire Country? Why would they go to the Fire Country? He wasn't in the Fire Country? Naruto was confused. By the way, Sister Zero, do you remember what I promised you? Zero's arm was broken when he fought with Kakuzu. At that time, Naruto said that he would give Zero a puppet arm that he could control freely. Zero naturally remembered this. He looked at Tobirama and asked in surprise, You brought it? Naruto waved his hand. I have even better news. This time, I can heal your hand. 01's interest was immediately dampened. He did not believe Naruto's words at all. Are you kidding me? Naruto said seriously, It's true. Later, I'll ask this person beside you to teleport you to my place. I'll show you. Hinata didn't intend to stay in the mercenary union, so naturally, Naruto wouldn't continue to be a mercenary. Therefore, Naruto decided to recruit the Clown Emperor's mercenaries to his side. This idea was also Hinata's. 01 looked at Naruto. He had already verified Tobirama's identity when he came here. He didn't suspect that someone was pretending to be Naruto, so he simply said, Okay, I'll go to your place. When do we leave? Naruto gritted his teeth. Let's do it now. The teleportation circle lit up and enveloped Tobirama and Zero. Naruto said, Stand in the circle and don't move. Don't reach out your hand. The circle rose into a pillar of light, and in the next moment, Tobirama and Zero disappeared from the hot spring hotel. When they reappeared, they were already at the Great Snow Mountain Research Institute. Welcome to the Great Snow Mountain Research Institute. Let me reintroduce myself. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. That's all for now. I'll continue when everyone is here. Naruto warmly welcomed 01. Zero felt a wave of dizziness wash over him. It took her a while to recover, and she laughed at herself. It seems that I haven't moved for too long. I can't even stand properly. Naruto's little Gogni laughed. Sister 01 is very powerful. I almost vomited the first time I was summoned. 01 looked at Gogni, and Naruto introduced. This is little Gogni. Like you, he also lost his limb in battle. 01 was stunned, and she carefully looked at Gogni. However, she did not see any injuries on Gunny's body. Little Gunny saw the doubt in 01's eyes. He lifted the prosthesis and extended it to 01. He tapped it with his finger and said in a dull voice, "This is the prosthesis made by Naruto Oniai-san. It looks real, right? This is a limb? If that's the case, does that mean I can also get a limb like this?" Naruto said to Zero, who was staring at Ganiko's prosthesis in surprise. "Let Ganiko take you to familiarize yourself with this place. I'll continue to find the president and the others. When everyone is here, I'll explain." "Oh right, you can also go to the kitchen. Hinata is cooking right now. As her master, you can give her some pointers." Looking at Zero, who was in a trance with a stomach full of questions, Naruto said to Tobirama, "How was it? Isn't the Flying Thunder God Jutsu super cool?" Tobirama shook his head. "It's very dangerous. If it wasn't for my Edo Tensei body, you wouldn't be able to see me anymore." After that, Tobirama shared a video recording with Naruto. In the video, the arrow was nailed to a tree trunk, and Tobirama's body was also teleported into the tree trunk. Half of his body was stuck in the tree trunk. He looked at the camera and said, "This is the 36th time I got stuck in the tree." Tobirama switched to another video. This time, he was stuck halfway up the mountain, but this time, there was no language record. Tobirama's head was stuck in the mountain, and he was trying to find a way to pull his head out of it. Pfft! Naruto couldn't help but laugh. Tobirama continued to switch. This time, his whole body was buried in the ground. Only his head was exposed. In the video, Tobirama was in a good mood. He said to the camera, "Fortunately, I'm good at earth release. Otherwise, I don't know how to get out of the ground." There are a lot of videos like this. This trip can be named as Tobirama's 108 Encounters That Can't Die. Naruto couldn't help but laugh. The video is very good, and it's full of comedy. If it's edited, it will definitely be very popular. Tobirama's face was filled with pain. "Is there any other command? If not, I want to lie in the coffin." Naruto nodded again and again. "Not at the moment. You go and rest. This trip has been hard on you." Tobirama nodded, and was about to walk out of the door. At this time, Naruto suddenly said, "But the speed of the arrow is still too slow. When chakra guns are made, you can imprint the Flying Thunder God Jutsu on the bullets." "Huh? I haven't finished yet. Don't rush to go." Tobirama used the Flying Thunder God Jutsu and disappeared directly and returned to his coffin. In the spiritual link, Tobirama replied, "If you have time to think about this, it's better to find Orochimaru. Brother's body won't be able to hold on for a month. While he's here, don't you want him to do something that he's willing to cooperate with?" Find Orochimaru? Naruto also wants to. But the key is that he can't find him. This may be the only opportunity to join forces with the first Naruto. Of course, Naruto knows that this opportunity is quite precious. Naruto replied very honestly, "I did something to Sasuke's identity card, but now the bottom link is broken." Excluding the possibility of Orochimaru taking Sasuke to outer space, the only possibility is that guy destroyed the card. Tobirama's voice became cold. "You want to abandon yourself? I know that the Uchiha clan is hopeless. Next time I meet them, I'll kill them directly." Naruto. At the same time, Kakuzu crossed out the name of the 20th Mercenary Union on the roster. Kakuzu's eyes fell on the next target, the Clown Emperor. Chapter 416. In the Great Snow Mountain Research Institute, Naruto was lying on the bed, looking at the knowledge about the curse seal sent by Yakushi Kabuto. Yakushi Kabuto organized it in detail, including the organized manuscripts and the video of his communication with Orochimaru. However, the value of the content was still to be discussed. Because at this time, Naruto didn't have filial piety. It was the substance extracted from Yugo's body that could open Sage Mode. But if he wanted to get it, Naruto also had a way, because the Sakuragi sisters and Yugo were of the same clan. The video in front of Naruto's eyes came to an end. From Naruto's perspective, Orochimaru looked at Kabuto affectionately. I originally intended to teach you this jutsu that can turn stone into gold and waste into treasure. After all, when my hands were taken away by Sandaime, I couldn't complete this experiment alone. Yakushi Kabuto smiled politely but solemnly. That's a pity, but I'm working for someone else now. Orochimaru suddenly approached, and Naruto saw eagerness in his snake eyes. Work. That's a good word, so. Have you ever thought of coming back again? Orochimaru got closer. To realize this technique, you first need filial piety in Yugo's body. I only promised to give you the knowledge about the curse seal, but I didn't promise to provide filial piety. After saying that, Orochimaru looked at Yakushi Kabuto with a face full of wisdom. Yakushi Kabuto leaned sideways and adjusted his glasses. That's a pity. Naruto secretly thought that Orochimaru must have bad breath, so Yakushi Kabuto leaned sideways to avoid him. At this time, Yakushi Kabuto looked at Orochimaru's arm and asked, Orochimaru-sama seems to be in a good state these days. Your hand doesn't hurt anymore? Orochimaru replied calmly. I found a way to block the pain in my hand. The disguise was very good. Naruto looked at this scene several times and found no signs of lying. For example, suddenly nervous fingers trembling, pupils contracting, and so on. Of course, it's not that Orochimaru can win an Oscar. It can only be said that the clone is too confusing. Naruto subconsciously had an idea. Should he develop something that could detect lies for his doppelgangers? Naruto's doppelganger renting function was to connect the main body's thoughts with the doppelganger's mind. The doppelganger's every move was completely controlled by the main body, but at the same time, when the person lied, the soul power field would change. Soul power gave rise to spiritual power. Using this as an analogy, it wasn't difficult to create a lie detector. All he had to do was create a data that could collect the changes in spiritual power when lying. Or perhaps, he could directly monitor the place where the mental link was established? That seemed interesting. On the screen, Orochimaru began to inquire about his whereabouts. Where's Naruto? I haven't seen him for a long time. I still want to talk to him about Xiaosu's deal. I wonder if Naruto will agree if I use you to exchange for Xiaosu. This was a blatant attempt to poach. Naruto continued to watch with interest, only to see Yakushi Kabuto once again smile politely and solemnly. Orochimaru-sama is too kind. How can a dead person like me be compared to such a precious thing? As for Naruto-sama's movements, how can an employee like me know? In Naruto's vision, the ambiguity on Orochimaru's face finally disappeared. Like a little girl who was dumped, he stared into Yakushi Kabuto's eyes and asked, "This is your choice?" Yakushi Kabuto smiled and didn't answer. In the end, Orochimaru's doppelganger disappeared with a bang. Naruto suddenly dubbed, "Oh, do you really not love me anymore?" Naruto shouted with great emotion, like an abandoned female lead in a melodramatic drama. Unfortunately, Naruto was in his room at this time, so there was no audience for such a wonderful performance. After shouting, Naruto's face revealed a trace of a mischievous smile. He sighed from the bottom of his heart, not bad. Of course, Naruto was not praising his own acting skills. It was Yakushi Kabuto who saved the ending and sent it to him. This was telling Naruto, "Boss, other big companies want to poach me, but I didn't leave, so don't you think you should give me a raise? Or give me a bonus?" However, Yakushi Kabuto's contribution was not small. After Naruto came back, it was Yakushi Kabuto who reminded Naruto to check Orochimaru's soul. Meritorious service reward. What reward? The fruit brought back from outer space for him to study. Does that count as a reward? Well, does that seem a bit stingy? At this time, to Naruto's surprise, in his friend list, two people who were already dark suddenly lit up at the same time. Orochimaru and Sasuke. Fuck. These two guys didn't destroy their ID cards. Then why was the bottom link broken before? Could it be that the two of them had also gone to outer space? But no matter what, The most important thing now was not to find out the reason, but to lock onto these two people. Naruto directly opened the operation panel of the big fat satellite. In the positioning column, he filled in the ID of Orochimaru's ID card. System prompt. Please select chakra supply chain route. What should he choose? A month's supply of chakra in the Great Snow Mountain Laboratory was only enough for 10 minutes. Because he still had to maintain the operation of the spiritual network and the Great Snow Mountain Research Institute's defensive system, there was not much left. Originally, Naruto planned to let Nine Tails provide chakra, but now Nine Tails, it was difficult. Little Nine, I need chakra to open the satellite positioning system. Orochimaru, can you still do it? Little Nine was very domineering. You need chakra? Sure, lend me your body for a day. Unlike Nine Tails, who asked for desserts all day long, Little Nine now directly asked for control of the body. Naruto nodded. That depends on your ability. If you can hold on for a minute, I'll lend you my body for a minute. How about it? This was actually a trap. But the inexperienced Little Nine happily jumped in. Deal. Naruto filled in the ID of Nine Tails in the chakra supply chain route. Nine Tails' ID card was a sub-user opened under Naruto's 5-star card, so it could be said that Naruto was positioning his own 5-star ID card. Start locking. Little Nine. Supply chakra. Nine Tails injected chakra into Naruto's ID card, and then chakra was directly transmitted to the satellite in the sky through the spiritual network. System prompt. Big fat satellite successfully activated. System prompt. Big fat satellite successfully locked onto the target. System prompt. Scanning map generating. Naruto was not idle. He notified Hashirama and Tobirama through the spiritual network. Prepare for battle. Found Orochimaru. At the same time, Orochimaru took the initiative to contact Naruto and said, I finally contacted you. Naruto wanted to say that he thought so too. Naruto replied, Indeed, it's been a long time. The system prompt sounded in Naruto's ear. Map generated successfully. Naruto looked over. In the land of rice. Orochimaru's base camp. Naruto changed Orochimaru to Sasuke. Then the map was updated. And the map showed that Sasuke and Orochimaru were together. This was really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Chapter 417. According to the agreement, I taught Kabuto Yakushi the android technology and the curse seal technology. And I also got my hand back, I think. This is a very happy deal. In the spiritual network, Orochimaru spoke with confidence. For Orochimaru to talk so openly about taking his hand back, Naruto could only look at the sky. What does this mean? A demonstration? Naruto controlled the big fat satellite to scan the area where Orochimaru was and replied. Then you. What is the reason for looking for me this time? The moment the directional perception barrier penetrated the barrier arranged by Orochimaru, several strings of bells in the stone room where Orochimaru was located kept ringing. Orochimaru was alert and asked Naruto through the spiritual network. What did you do? Naruto didn't expect to be able to lock onto Orochimaru silently. After all, the perception barrier is also a ninjutsu, and there is chakra's fluctuation. However, Naruto still played dumb and said, I don't seem to understand what you are talking about. Then, with a thought, he triggered the backup that he left on Sasuke. A circle of light enveloped Naruto and rose. The circle of light turned into a beam of light, and with a flash of white light, Naruto disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in a dim stone room with candlesticks. In the stone room, Sasuke was sitting on the bed with a sword in his hand. Long time no see, Sasuke-kun. Naruto's sudden appearance shocked Sasuke, and Sasuke raised his hand and pulled out his sword and slashed at Naruto. Kusanagi sword? Naruto raised his hand and pinched the sword with 2 fingers. Ding. The sound was not made by slashing, but by Naruto's fingernails touching the sword. After eating Kyuubi's chakra for 2 months in a row, Naruto's physique has shown a mutation towards Kyuubi. Oh, so ruthless. I haven't seen you for a long time, and this is how you treat an old friend? Sasuke subconsciously wanted to pull out the sword, but the sword seemed to be embedded in Naruto's hand, and it didn't move. You are Naruto. At this time, in Sasuke's eyes, Naruto has red hair with a metallic luster, a square face, no beard, and red vertical pupils. The most conspicuous thing Naruto's height is Naruto's height. Naruto smiled and replied to him. Naruto finally recognized me? Naruto grabbed the sword of Kusanagi by force. Good weapon, lend it to me to use. Naruto used Naruto to his feet directly cut to the sword. The red chakra erupted. It's the wind element chakra's property change, but it's not concentrated in a line. Instead, it rotated around the sword like a chainsaw, extremely fierce and overbearing, stirring up the ground on this floor, and connecting to the next floor. At this time, Naruto and Orochimaru met again. Naruto replied with a sneaky smile, "It's indeed my fault." At the same time, the summoning function was triggered, 2 halos rose, and the first Naruto and the second Naruto appeared in front of Orochimaru. The first Naruto crossed his shoulders. "Oh Orochimaru, we meet again." Looking at the lifelike first Naruto and second Naruto, Orochimaru looked at Naruto in shock. "You didn't erase their consciousness? Do you know what you are doing?" Naruto laughed. "If I erase their consciousness, their strength will be greatly reduced. I'm not stupid." Orochimaru's eyes widened. Was this a question of whether he was stupid or not? If he didn't erase their consciousness, the two of them would suffer a backlash at any time. Who was the stupid one? Orochimaru thought again, and thought of another possibility. "You persuaded the two Naruto to join forces to deal with me?" Naruto smiled and didn't say anything. After greeting Orochimaru, the first Naruto looked at Sasuke. He emphasized, "I am the first Naruto. I'm not an illusion created by that kid Naruto." Sasuke's whole person was completely stunned. What illusion? Oh right, he saw the first Naruto at the Mercenary University last time. At that time, he thought that the first Naruto and the second Naruto were fake. He even said that the first Naruto was a fool. What to do? Sasuke was anxious, the pupils in his eyes changed, and he was ready to open his Sharingan. But before the Sharingan was formed, Sasuke suddenly found that his body couldn't move. Then a circle of light surrounded him. This circle of light was very familiar. The first Naruto and the second Naruto were summoned from this circle of light. So, this is to send him away? Orochimaru, who noticed Naruto's intention, couldn't sit still. In order to get Sasuke to his side, he paid a huge price. How could he just watch Naruto take Sasuke away, especially when his hands were healed? Orochimaru raised his hand to grab Sasuke, and at the moment he raised his arm, countless snakes suddenly drilled out of it. Hidden Shadow Multi-Snake Hand. The brown snakes quickly grabbed Sasuke. Naruto waved his sword. Dozens or even hundreds of snakes were directly cut into pieces. Orochimaru, you're slower than I thought. After cutting off the hand that was flying towards Sasuke, Naruto slashed the ground. This slash was made by condensing the wind element chakra into a line, so there was only a trace on the ground, and bright red blood flowed out from this trace. Orochimaru intended to attack Sasuke from the ground, but his snake clone died in the ground. It seems that your preparation this time is not very good. In my perception barrier, your clone's movements are not hidden at all. After the two exchanges, 3 seconds passed, and then there was a flash of white light, and Sasuke was sent away by Naruto. Seeing Sasuke being sent away, Orochimaru's face became gloomy. Uzumaki Naruto, you once again exceeded my expectations, but there is one thing you did wrong. You shouldn't have joined forces with first Naruto and second Naruto, and you shouldn't have kept their consciousnesses. They may cooperate with you to deal with me, but after dealing with me, they will definitely deal with you, because compared to me, you are Woodleaf's biggest enemy. Naruto said helplessly. I am such a good young man, how did I become the enemy of Woodleaf? Orochimaru sneered. Woodleaf's 2 consultants, Mitokado Hamura and Udatane Koharu. Were you the one who killed them? Those 2 people were the right-hand men of second Naruto in the past. Why did he mention this? Naruto regretted that he didn't directly fight with Orochimaru. If he lost a right-hand man like second Naruto because of Orochimaru's words, then he would have lost a lot of money. Second Naruto looked at Naruto. You killed those 2 little guys? Naruto scratched his head awkwardly. They are already more than 70 years old. It's the end of their lifespan. Second Naruto sighed. Did they do something wrong? Naruto nodded. I said before that they cheated me of my research results and didn't give me any money. Second Naruto still frowned. So they are indeed old and confused. Orochimaru has been observing the reactions of first Naruto and second Naruto. He originally thought that the two would severely interrogate the masked person, or even question him. But that scene didn't seem to happen. It just made the two of them frown. There is a problem. There is a big problem. In the current situation, Orochimaru felt that retreating was the wisest choice. He bit his finger and drew blood on the summoning jutsu on his forearm. Summoning jutsu. For a time, waves of earth surged, shaking the entire base. Damn Orochimaru, summoning me in such a narrow place again. In the smoke, an extremely huge python hissed, then retracted, spitting out a mouthful of sand in dissatisfaction. This time he summoned a snake with 2 short and 2 long horns on both sides of its head. Chapter 418. Land of Fire, Woodleaf Ninja Village. The Clown Emperor trio successfully sneaked in. 04 controlled the rock-release skin whale, and carried the 3 women out of the ground. All 3 of them were dressed in ordinary clothes and disguised as ordinary people, but a careful person could still see their plan from their walking, sitting, and lying posture. Simply put, it was a very simple disguise. And they didn't notice that there was a white dog not far from the corner of the street. The dog's hair was very fluffy and a little erect. If Naruto saw it, he might mistake it for the thunder spirit of some treasure. As for the identity of this dog, it can be seen from the eyes of the drunken dog. Kaichi-sama, we really came in. The ninja villages of the 5 major countries are not that good. After the rock-release skin whale transported the 3 women out, it sank into the ground. 05 began to look around. At this time, they appeared in a relatively remote corner on the edge of the wood leaf. The moss-covered wooden stakes were placed on the wall to maintain the wall that could collapse at any time. Under the wall, the cautious faces of the women were full of guilty conscience. 04 pretended to be relaxed and let out a long sigh of relief and said proudly, "It's my rock-release skin whale's ability." The president whispered, "Since we're here, let's get down to business and start collecting information." The 3 women separated. The white dog, who had been drinking too much, twitched its nose as if it wanted to inhale the remaining fragrance in the air into its lungs. At the same time, on the cliff 1 kilometer away from the Woodleaf Ninja Village, Kakuzu and Haiden were looking at the wood leaf in front of them with a tangled expression. Time passed by, and the shadows of the two were elongated. Haiden couldn't help but say, "Hey, how long do we have to wait outside? Can these people come out again after going in?" Kakuzu said with a serious face, "Wait until the news of the end comes from inside." Haiden didn't understand and shouted exaggeratedly, "Huh? You have an inside person inside?" Kakuzu shook his head and said, "No." Haiden hammered his shoulder with his scythe. "Then where did the news come from?" Kakuzu continued to stare at the wood leaf seriously, and only replied with one word, "Wait." Compared to the quiet and peaceful 3 forces here, the battle that broke out in the land of rice was much fiercer. "Brat, are you the human pillar force of 9 tails? I can sense a disgusting aura from your body." The Snake Dowager's sudden appearance in the underground palace caused the entire palace to collapse due to her over 50 meters tall body. Naruto and Naidame Naruto successfully escaped using Earth Release Ninjutsu, while Shodame Naruto merged his body into the roots of the trees and returned to the surface. On the ground, Orochimaru stood on the head of Manda, who was covered in bluish-purple scales. Naruto, the first Naruto, and the second Naruto surrounded the area where the Snake Dowager had appeared. This wasn't planned in advance. It was just a tacit understanding between the two of them during battle. Kill Orochimaru. Of course, compared to the first and second generations, Naruto had one more goal, which was to kill them and use Edo reincarnation. Then he used his great charisma to take Orochimaru under his wing. In any case, Naidame Naruto was willing to listen to him, so a mere Orochimaru wasn't worth mentioning. Nine Tails sealed space, while transferring chakra to Naruto's ID card, asked, "Do I know this snake? Why did it say that it hates me?" Naruto didn't know what kind of entanglement there was between the snake dowager and Nine Tails. At least from Nine Tails' memory fragments, there was no shadow of the snake dowager. So he casually replied, I know it, and I think it has Duan Choyuan as well. Little Nine replied with an adorable oh. And repeated, there's a grudge. I think so too. Since there's a grudge, then let's kill it. Kill it and make snake soup. Snake soup? Naruto suddenly remembered that Nine Tails mentioned snake soup when talking about ninja beasts that could strengthen a ninja's body. If that's the case, then it's understandable where the hatred came from. Nine Tails ate the snake from the Ryuchi cave. Naruto subconsciously licked his lips. He suddenly wanted to taste such a big snake. How long could it take to eat it? Hey, kid. I'm asking you a question. Seeing that Naruto didn't reply, the snake dowager swept her tail. For a time, the earth waves surged, and the momentum was great. But before the huge tail could come, hundreds of vines and stakes suddenly pierced out from the ground and wrapped around the snake dowager's tail. Naruto's would release. The snake dowager's eyes fell on Naruto and said in surprise, would release. But it seems a bit too weak. The snake dowager's body began to swell, and the wooden stakes wrapped around her body began to squeak. Naruto's eyes widened in anger, and his hands formed a seal, and a seat character appeared on Naruto's hand. At the same time he shouted, take! The combination of sealing and wood release was originally used to suppress tailed beasts. But it was also useful in normal battles. Especially when the Edo Tensei body couldn't use its full strength, the sealing technique played a huge role. Would release bag technique. 5 would release giant hands grabbed at the snake dowager from 5 different directions. The snake dowager's huge body that wanted to cause trouble was once again pressed to the ground. At the same time, the scene of this move was very exciting, and had a kind of crushing visual impact. Naruto stood on the side and muttered, it seems like we don't need to fight, and we can deal with it. Little Nine narrowed his eyes and suddenly shouted, cut it! It wants to run. At the same time that Little Nine shouted, Naruto also felt a layer of ripples appear in the air. It was like when he used the spirit communication technique, there would be a change in space. Without hesitation he took out his sword of Kusanagi and changed Chakra's wind attribute. Body flicker technique, storm damage. Naruto instantly appeared in front of the snake dowager's body that was closest to him. He held his blade with both hands. His right hand controlled Chakra's wind attribute, and at the same time compressed the wind blade into a line. His left hand controlled the compressed pieces of Chakra's wind attribute to vibrate. Just like Chakra's scalpel. This was a new technique that Naruto created by fusing medical ninjutsu and wind blade. Storm damage. The moment the wind blade vibrated in the air, an ear-piercing buzzing sound followed. But it was only for a moment, and then no sound could be heard. The decibel of the sound at this moment exceeded the acceptable range of the human ear. The sword of Kusanagi cut into the snake dowager's body, and the invisible wind blade extended for dozens of meters. A section of the snake dowager's body was instantly cut off. There was no blood at the cut, and it was charred black with smoke coming out as if it was burned. Orochimaru screamed. The huge snake eyes stared at Naruto, but it didn't attack. Space distorted, and mist rose. With a bang, the snake dowager slipped away from the mist. Only the 10-meter-long snake tail was left. In the sealed space, Nine Tails complained. You let it run away. Can't you cut it vertically? Also, with your speed just now, you should be able to directly cut off the snake's head. Naruto smiled and replied. What's the matter? This section is enough to eat. Moreover, if we leave it alive, we can continue to cut it up and eat it when its body recovers. Nine froze and his eyes lit up. Leave it for next time? Good idea. Why didn't I think of that? But I don't know when I will meet it next time. How about this, next time we defeat it and force it to sign a contract with you, so that if you want to eat it, you can summon it and cut it off at any time. Naruto. Good idea. At the same time, the black steel sand condensed into a huge iron triangle in the blink of an eye and smashed towards Naruto. Magnet release. The third Kazekage of the Edo Tensei. Chapter 419. The huge iron-black iron triangle continued to grow, and the sharp horn pointed directly at Naruto, falling from the sky with a fierce momentum. And the speed was extremely fast. Naruto raised his hand, and the 5 huge wooden hands used to seal Manda were controlled by Naruto to move towards the iron triangle. At the same time, the Kazekage beside Orochimaru changed his hand seals. In a split second, the black iron triangle that had been condensed together suddenly dispersed and continued to shoot downwards like rain. Magnet release. Iron sand time rain. Naruto put his palms together, and the 5 huge hands transformed into a sky curtain to block it. Orochimaru sneered. Too late. At the moment when Naruto blocked the iron sand rain in front of him with all his strength, behind Naruto, an iron spear rushed forward and instantly pierced Naruto's body. Orochimaru raised the corner of his mouth and sneered. It seems that I overestimated you next. Before he finished speaking, a sword lightly cut through Orochimaru's body. Naruto replied with a smile. I'll return that sentence to you. Bang. Naruto's body that was penetrated disappeared. Obviously, it was a clone. Orochimaru fell to the ground in disbelief. He stared at Naruto angrily. The Kazekage's iron sand attacked again. Naruto didn't dodge and continued to look down at Orochimaru and said, Don't worry, I will resurrect you soon, just like Kabuto. The next time we meet, we will be family. When the iron rain was 1 meter away from Naruto, it suddenly slowed down and stagnated in the air as if it was in a mud bath. Orochimaru stared at the iron sand rain in the sky and shouted, Continue to attack. However, the iron sand in the sky was still motionless. Naruto waved his hand, and the iron sand turned into an iron wire and cut towards the Kazekage. Orochimaru couldn't believe it and said in horror, You can also use magnet release. The iron wire cut the Kazekage into pieces. The Kazekage's body reassembled. Tobirama, who had been preparing for a long time, finally found the opportunity to make a move. The scroll unfolded and the seal was launched. The Kazekage who had just gathered his body was subdued before he could launch another attack. You've lost. Go in peace. Very soon, you will be resurrected by me. With your talent, it's only a matter of time before you come back to life again if you want to research the true longevity technique. So there's no need to feel too much regret. Naruto smiled kindly. Orochimaru was stunned for a moment. Then he laughed strangely and said sarcastically, Do you really think you have won? Naruto's heart skipped a beat. Orochimaru's voice was hoarse. Of course you won. At least you took away Sasuke. I'm looking forward to our next fight. With a bang sound, Orochimaru's body, which was cut in two, turned into a pile of snakes on the ground. Naruto was very familiar with this scene. This was Orochimaru's snake clone. When did Orochimaru use the snake clone to escape? Naruto didn't know at all. Orochimaru's escape didn't make sense because the location of the satellite positioning system didn't change. Wait. Naruto thought of a possibility. He raised his hand, swept the snakes on the ground, and grabbed one of them. Sure enough, this snake had Orochimaru's identity card attached to it. How did he do it? After all, this card was bound to Orochimaru. Without Naruto's permission, it's impossible to transfer it. Unless when Naruto gave Orochimaru the identity card, Orochimaru used the snake clone. But that's impossible, because at that time, Naruto also gave Orochimaru the soul of an arm, and Naruto saw that soul fuse into Orochimaru's body. Could it be that his identity card was cracked by Orochimaru? Naruto pinched the snake 7 inches. The snake was still alive and it didn't dare to struggle. It loosened its head and resigned to its fate. Naruto narrowed his eyes and looked at the snake. The snake was white. Could it be Orochimaru? This idea was a bit ridiculous, but if it wasn't, it couldn't explain the current situation. Hey, admit it, are you Orochimaru? Naruto asked the snake. The snake's small head shook like a rattle. Believe it? That's impossible. Well, whether you are or not, you can go on your way. If we're talking about right or wrong, you're wrong because you followed the wrong person. With that said, Naruto planned to give the snake a quick death. But at this time, the snake suddenly cried. That's right, it cried like raindrops. Tears flowed like a fountain. Snakes cry? Do snakes have tear glands? No way. Naruto opened his perception barrier and scanned the snake's body. For a moment, every blood vessel and nerve on the snake's body could be seen clearly. And then Naruto discovered that the snake really did have tear glands. Aren't snakes cold-blooded animals? Not to mention tear glands, they don't even have sweat glands. Wait. Naruto felt the snake in his hand again. This snake was warm. A hot-blooded snake? What kind of joke was this? This wasn't an alien creature. This was a snake in front of him, not some other animal. Wah. Wah wah wah. The snake cried loudly, and the small fountain of tears grew even larger. Naruto instinctively used chakra to protect himself. Who knew if these tears were poisonous, or if it was some kind of special attack? Naruto also collected some. After activating the system's clone rental function, Naruto summoned his own clone. He then tested it on the spot. The results showed that it wasn't poisonous, and it was made of ordinary tears. Naruto looked at the snake again. There were no runes on the snake's body. It was clean and smooth. Could it be? Naruto took out a syringe and drew half a vial of blood from the white snake's crying face. He then tested it again. The result was human blood flowed from the snake's body. I see. The first Naruto and the second Naruto watched from the side for a long time. Seeing Naruto suddenly laugh, they couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong? Is there something wrong with this snake?" Naruto felt both angry and amused. He explained, "This Orochimaru. He fused his own cells with the snake to create a snake with his blood. This was why this snake could use an identity card." All the mysteries that had been troubling Naruto were solved. The second Naruto stared at the white snake that was weeping and said, "Then what should we do with this snake?" Naruto looked at the white snake. The white snake shrank back in fear, its face full of grievance and panic. "Let's not kill it for now." Instantly, the white snake's eyes widened, and then it cried again. The fear on its face was gone, and this time, it was tears of joy. It also puckered its lips as if it had been wronged. Naruto chuckled. "You're still Orochimaru's snake son. Why don't you look like Orochimaru at all? Or perhaps Orochimaru was also a crybaby when he was young." The white snake held back its tears and sobbed rhythmically. An expression that said, "I'm not a crybaby." But one thing was for sure, this snake's IQ was very high. It seemed to be able to understand everything Naruto said. "Let me ask you something. Are you willing to follow me? If you are, I won't kill you." The white snake nodded while sobbing. Naruto looked at the identity card he took from the snake and smirked. "From now on, you'll be called Orochimaru." Saying so, Naruto stuck the identity card on the snake's body again. The card softened and stuck to the skin. On the side, the first Naruto's ashes rose from his body. Edo Tensei's time was up. First Naruto was taken aback, then a relieved smile appeared on his face. "I'm leaving, don't summon me again, or next time, I'll kick your ass no matter what." As he said, the first Naruto's chest bulged. The woman's body was exposed once again. First Naruto's mouth twitched. This guy didn't forget to stab his heart before leaving. "Boy, don't let me meet you again." Naruto quickly waved his hand and said, "I didn't do it, it should be because of the technique's removal." But, first Naruto, Sama, you're really enchanting now. Tobirama endured for a long time on the side, but when he heard the word enchanting, he finally couldn't hold back and burst out laughing. Then he kneeled on the ground and laughed without any image. And it was the kind of laughter that was full of joy. "Wah! Ha! Brother, I didn't expect you to have this day. Wahahaha." First Hokage's face was as black as the bottom of a pot, staring at Tobirama. "Boy, don't meet me again." Tobirama's laughter stopped, and this time he laughed even more impudently. How long has it been? How long has he been waiting for the day when he could ridicule his brother without any pressure? Now, it could be said that he had fulfilled his wish. Then he boldly shouted, "Brother, if you can wear women's clothing, it would be perfect." At this time, ashes shed another layer, revealing the clothes that this body originally wore, which was women's clothing. Second Naruto was surprised, then he snapped his fingers and ordered the system. "Quick, quick, quick. Take a 360-degree picture of this scene with me, without any blind spots." First, Naruto's face was as black as the bottom of a pot, and his whole person fell into a huge loss. You. First Naruto called you for a long time, but no one came out, and finally he said, "Just you wait. I'll wait in the world after death to kick your ass." Second Naruto waved his hand and said, "That's impossible, we've all died, and the world after death doesn't exist. Brother, rest in peace. Your appearance in women's clothing will forever be imprinted in my heart." First Naruto. Mother****, give me back my cute, obedient, and serious little brother. His cheeky face was simply a replica of Naruto. Naruto really was poisonous. And this poison was contagious. When the last wisp of ashes scattered, first Naruto's soul could still be seen because of the rising ashes, and the anger on his face disappeared. He mouthed, "Jaiga You." This was a brother's last blessing to his little brother. It wasn't because of Naruto's identity, but because he wanted his little brother to fulfill his dream. Chapter 420. Naruto could feel his consciousness gradually dissipating. His body seemed to be floating, but it also seemed to be not moving. In a trance, there was a trace of feeling, and this feeling was gradually dissipating with the passage of time. That feeling was very strange. He didn't pay attention to it when he died in the past, but this time it was particularly clear. Is this the feeling after death? This thought only flashed in his heart. Then Naruto thought of his younger brother again. That guy dared to laugh at him. He laughed so loudly and so unscrupulously. If he could, he really wanted to whip his little butt. And the culprit, Naruto. It's a pity. He may never have the chance again. Because he died, this is really a sad thing. How much time has passed? Hashirama couldn't feel it. He could only feel his body getting lighter and lighter, his thoughts becoming slower and slower, and his sense of the world becoming more and more blurred. Gradually, he felt that he was disconnected from the world. It was as if he was locked in a dark room. No, it was more terrible than being locked in a dark room. Being locked in a dark room only deprived him of his vision. Here he couldn't feel anything except sight, hearing, and touch. It was as if he was the only one left in the whole world. Was he afraid? He didn't feel that, he just felt a little lonely. How good would it be if he had a companion at this time? This should be Hashirama Lee's last thought before he couldn't feel it. Next, even he couldn't feel it, he was born in heaven and earth and returned to heaven and earth. However, the dissipated souls suddenly gathered together again. The muddle-headed spirit gradually became clear as the soul gathered. This feeling had never been there before. It was like the first ray of sun rising in the morning. The lonely person once again received a caring hug. It was the connection between him and the world. Or it was the feeling of the world. The dissipated soul gathered more and more. And this feeling became clearer. Who am I? Where am I? It was as if a newborn life had doubts about its own existence. Then the memories of the past reappeared in his mind like a slide. Those scenes from the Warring States period, the first time he picked up a kunai, the first time he went out of the house, the first time he met a close friend. From the bond with his parents to the bond with the world, the seeds were sweet and bitter. The pursuit of life, the unwillingness of life, the persistence of life, and the regret of death. Everything that he had experienced, he didn't forget a single thing. In an instant, he experienced everything that had happened in his previous life. I'm not dead yet? No. I should have died, and not just once. Then had he been summoned back? Naruto Senju Hashirama suddenly opened his eyes. He saw a pale face, sickly and exhausted. On that face, a pair of golden snake eyes stared at him, like a venomous snake hiding in the depths of the night. There was not a shred of emotion, only the persistence of life and the fear of death. Most importantly, it was an old acquaintance. This time, you're the one who summoned me? Strange, you didn't erase my intelligence. Did you think we could get along well? Or do you think you can completely control me with your spell? Hashirama stared at the man in front of him playfully. His old rival, Orochimaru. Orochimaru pursed his lips, and a smile appeared on his cold face. Instead of answering, he asked, "Then how did Naruto get along with you? Can you get along well with him? Or can he completely control you?" Speaking of Naruto, the memory that wasn't very long resurfaced again. What girl? Hashirama subconsciously raised his hand and touched his chest. Very good, it's great. Below. Well, it's soft. Although he didn't intend to use it, it's very reassuring. Naruto didn't answer. Orochimaru spoke again. If you don't want to recover your consciousness, it's okay. Anyway, I don't ask much of you. Orochimaru took out a talisman. That was the talisman that sealed the main personality. Hashirama was stunned. Then he shouted, "Wait a minute!" Orochimaru's hand stopped in midair, and the talisman was in his hand. Wait a minute, I still have some unfinished wishes. Let me sort them out first. Well, except for letting me attack with Leaf, I can cooperate with you a little, but there is a condition. Orochimaru retracted his hand and said, "Let's hear it." The reason why Orochimaru didn't erase Naruto's main personality was mainly because he was a little curious about how Naruto invited Naruto. Although he guessed that it was related to himself, it was just a guess. He still wanted to know the truth if he had the chance. Naruto straightened his thoughts and said with a serious face, "I want to beat Naruto, and my brother. Well, this is my wish." Great Snow Mountain Laboratory. After Naruto gave the white snake to Defei for training, he and Tobirama planned the next plan. The plan of Edo Tensei Vortex Mito. There were only two people in the conference room, Naruto and Tobirama. The two sat on both sides of the tea table. On the tea table, steam rose from the hot tea brewed by Little Gurney. Naruto filled the tea and gave a cup to Tobirama, and then he tasted the tea himself. In the past, Naruto didn't know how to drink tea, but as his body strengthened, his tongue became more and more sensitive. Gradually, he began to like this drink, which was bitter at first, but with endless aftertaste. In addition, he was not afraid of the heat anymore, and he could drink freely as he liked. However, Naruto's tea tasting skill isn't something that ordinary people can learn. He sniffed the tea like a normal person. Then he drank it. The teacup fell on the tea table. Naruto raised his left hand and stared at the seal left by the seal on it. This was the core formation he learned from Sasori that could decompose chakra. Because the principle hasn't been understood yet, Naruto was struggling whether to remove the seal from his body first. Otherwise, he would always feel uneasy. Tobirama didn't drink like Naruto. He put down the teacup slightly. Brother left. Now I can reincarnate brother and sister-in-law out of Edo Tensei. Naruto retracted his gaze. Well, in addition to this seal, I also want her to break the seal on my body. Tobirama was a little hesitant. Then he picked up the teacup and drank. Naruto frowned. If there's anything you want to say, just say it. Tobirama said, since the technique on your body was left by Yondaime Naruto, isn't it easier to find Yondaime Naruto? Naruto regretted letting Tobirama speak. The seal left by Yondaime Naruto was naturally the easiest to be broken by Yondaime Naruto. But he didn't want to see his father. In what capacity? Son. Naruto was silent. And Tobirama held the teacup and drank again. Or pecked. It was no different from a bird drinking water. And it was a timid quail. This matter. Let's talk about it later. As for returning to Woodleaf to retrieve Uzumaki Mito's ashes, let's leave it for the Chunin exam held by Woodleaf in half a year. The most important thing now is the news of Tsunade, and the whereabouts of the Clown Emperor Mercenary Guild. At the same time, in the Woodleaf interrogation room, Yamanaka Inoichi was reading Zero's memory with the mind-body technique. Soon he saw Hinata and Naruto. Jiraiya-sama. Yamanaka Inoichi told the information obtained from Zero's memory to Jiraiya, who was waiting for the news. Jiraiya was silent. Yamanaka Inoichi whispered, Hinata joined other organizations, which constitutes betrayal. Not waiting for Yamanaka Inoichi to finish, Jiraiya interrupted. Hinata's file in Woodleaf has long been cancelled. Where did betrayal come from? Who did she betray? Yamanaka Inoichi quickly shut up. Then he changed his words. Then the news that Naruto is still alive. Jiraiya frowned. The matter about the human pillar force is the village's top secret. Yamanaka Inoichi shut up again. Jiraiya told Yamanaka Inoichi, take the 3 newly arrested girls to the lowest level of the prison, and keep them under strict guard, and outsiders are not allowed to visit. After that, Jiraiya left. Yamanaka Inoichi followed Jiraiya's instructions, and went to Naruto's office. He felt that he must tell Naruto about this matter. Chapter 421. There are many things in this world that conflict with each other. For example, cats and dogs and chickens, for example, Sasuke and Sasuke's sensei. In the past it was Orochimaru, and now it's Tobirama. Hey, kid, can't you fight except for that eye? On the battlefield, Tobirama's hand seals. Night Walk Jutsu launched. Sasuke's eyes suddenly turned black. Tobirama quickly stepped forward, trying to catch Sasuke with his backhand. Sasuke didn't panic because his vision was deprived. Chakra poured into the Sharingan, and the unique spiritual power of the Sharingan directly tore Tobirama's genjutsu in an extremely overbearing manner. Then the two engaged in close combat. Tobirama's speed was getting faster and faster. Not only did the body of Edo Tensei not limit Tobirama's performance, but because of the characteristics of Edo Tensei, Tobirama can also make attacks that ordinary people can't complete. This made the already tricky anti-joint technique even more dangerous and hard to predict. But even so, Sasuke's defense is also very methodical. This is not because Sasuke's combat experience is comparable to Tobirama's. It's because of the dynamic vision of the Uchiha clan's Sharingan. Although the dynamic vision of the Uchiha clan is not as extreme as the Byakugan, the huge spiritual power of the Uchiha clan represents a stronger brain with a stronger calculation ability. The dynamic vision obtains information, and the brain speculates the way to deal with it at the fastest speed. This is the foundation of the Uchiha clan's ability to play with ninja tools. It's also the foundation of being able to deal with it freely in taijutsu. But to Sasuke's surprise, in the next moment, Tobirama hit him in the air. This palm seemed ordinary, but at the moment when the power was released to the extreme, a chakra shot into his body at an extremely fast speed. In an instant, Sasuke's eyes turned black. This is the Hyuga clan's empty palm that can seal aperture. Tobirama is not a member of the Hyuga clan. How can he use vacuum palm? Sasuke's acupoints were sealed, and Chakra's Sharingan couldn't continue, and the three Tomo Sharingan instantly turned back to an ordinary Sharingan. Before Sasuke could figure it out, the winner was decided. According to our agreement, I've dealt with you using physical techniques. From today onwards, you have to listen to me. Tobirama captured Sasuke and didn't even give him a chance to fight back. The five hands grabbed onto Sasuke's shoulders, dislocating his bones and tendons. Sasuke's joints were dislocated. This is a trick that Tobirama and Naruto explored together. The theoretical basis is based on the human body structure in medical ninjutsu. Do you admit defeat? The pain of dislocation was unimaginable to those who had never experienced it. However, Sasuke was also a man. He gritted his teeth and did not make a sound. After hesitating for a moment, he finally replied, I admit defeat, but you have to tell me why you can use the Hyuga clan's taijutsu. Tobirama let go of his hand. The point store bought it for 500 points. Sasuke was still in a state of blindness. He stared at the position where Tobirama stood a second ago and said, Impossible. The Hyuga clan's taijutsu requires the Byakugan to perform. Even if you get the book that Hinata sold, it's useless. Tobirama snorted. Who said that? You said that? Who else needs to say that? This is common sense. Sasuke turned his head to the place where Tobirama spoke, but in fact, Tobirama had already walked around Sasuke to other positions, so Sasuke really looked like a blind man. How can you see the acupoints without the Byakugan? How can you hit the acupoints if you can't see them? Tobirama raised his eyebrows and asked, Do you have an identity card? Sasuke was stunned. The one that Naruto gave? Tobirama nodded and said, Yes, that's it. Sasuke nodded. Yes, what's wrong? Don't change the subject. Tobirama rolled his eyes. Since you have that card, there's a very common little function on it called the perception enchantment, don't you know? Of course, Sasuke knew about the perception enchantment and used it. When he didn't use the Sharingan, the perception enchantment was a good little function for him. But later, the card was sealed by Orochimaru and became useless. I used it, what's wrong? Tobirama stopped and looked down at Sasuke and said, Since you used it, You can't think of a reason, are you a fool? Don't tell me you never used your spiritual link directly to the perception enchantment? Only used the system's graphical prompt page. Sasuke was even more confused. Tobirama didn't say much and directly ordered. Now try to connect directly to the perception enchantment with your spiritual link. Sasuke didn't know Tobirama's intention, but he still tried it. Spiritual link is originally a means of genjutsu to lock the target, which Sasuke is very good at. Sasuke mentally connected to the perception enchantment. Then the message Sasuke got was no longer the system's graphical prompt screen, but a sphere with a diameter of 5 meters. Within the sphere, including the flow of chakra, and his body can be seen clearly. And it's very thorough. Even the blood flowing in the blood vessels can be seen. It's just that there's too much information. And the brain is a little dazed when adapting. Tobirama asked, now you still don't understand why I can use the Hyuga clan's taijutsu? With the perception enchantment, it's not difficult to see the acupoints, and there's also the acupoint reminder function. Connect the super brain system to it. And it can also remind the effect of each acupoint after being hit. How simple. Sasuke looked at Tobirama stupidly. What did you say? What acupoint reminder function? What super brain system? Tobirama was stunned, and suddenly realized, oh, I forgot that's the function of the student card after installing the upgrade package. You don't have that authority now. Let's not talk about this. I just want to tell you that the Sharingan is not as powerful as you think. If you rely too much on it, when you lose these eyes you will be a waste. So since you worship me as your teacher, from today, you have to give up these eyes, and you are not allowed to use them without my permission. So you can be really strong. Give up the Sharingan? This is very Tobirama. After all, Tobirama regards these eyes and the Uchiha bloodline as ominous. Sasuke hesitated. Enduring the pain in his hand, he thought for a long time and firmly replied, I won't give up these eyes. I will use my dojutsu to defeat that person's dojutsu. Don't agree? Tobirama's eyes narrowed slightly. If you don't agree, you can't be my disciple. Sasuke stubbornly said, not rare. A kunai appeared in Tobirama's hand. It was the kunai that he tasted with the flying thunder god jutsu. It was cold against Sasuke's throat. If you don't agree, you will die. Are you kidding? Tobirama's eyes dimmed, and the killing intent was revealed. The soul doesn't lie. The so-called killing intent is the spiritual power sent out by the soul contains the idea of killing the other party. Suddenly in Sasuke's senses it was like winter. He can feel that the other party is not joking. If he doesn't agree, this person will definitely kill him. Chapter 422. In the Great Snow Mountain Research Institute, Naruto was arranging the surgeries for Gunny and the other two. Gunny was the first to receive the transplant. Are you ready? If you can't, we can switch to small Gunny and big Gunny. Naruto pushed Gunny into the operating room. However, when the door of the operating room slammed shut, Gunny, who was lying on the bed, began to tremble in fear. Yes, it was as if he was suddenly scared. When he was outside, Gunny had a brave look on his face. However, after entering the operating room, he seemed to have changed into a different person. Perhaps, he did not want to embarrass himself in front of the two sisters? Naruto. Do I really have to cut a section higher? Gunny's face turned pale. Naruto comforted him. Don't worry, it's just a small section. I'll also block the nerve conduction below your waist. That way you won't feel any pain. If the surgery goes smoothly, it'll be over in 15 minutes. Naruto gave Gunny a big smile. In the sealed space of 9 tails, Little 9 heard Naruto's words and complained. 15 minutes is the time needed to reattach the pig limb yesterday, right? Naruto ignored Little 9's complaint. He then cut off the mental link with 9 tails. I'll give you 1 more minute to calm down. After you've made your decision, I'll unseal your leg for the surgery. Gunny was stunned. Her leg? Can I have a look at my leg? Naruto took out 2 scrolls. On the scrolls were the words Gunny's right leg and Gunny's left leg. There were also words such as expiration date and failure to pass inspection. Your leg is here. However, You can't open it now. Once you open it, you'll have to perform the surgery immediately. Make your decision. Gunny gritted her teeth and finally nodded. All right. Let's begin. Although her words were impassioned, Gunny turned on her vibration mode and continued to tremble. Naruto activated the Runa ray on the bed. The sensory barrier began to scan. Naruto's mental power connected with the sensory barrier on the bed. A dynamic 3D perspective appeared in Naruto's eyes. The breathing of the lungs, the acceleration of the heartbeat, the flow of the blood, the contraction of the cells, from the inside out, every single strand of hair could be clearly seen. Can't count how many hairs a person has? The perception enchantment scanned a person's hair, and no matter how long each hair was, it wouldn't fall off. System notification. Medical panel authorization approved. System notification. Medical panel system activated. The medical panel opened, and Gurney's projection and body data were displayed in graphical form. At the same time, there was also a physical health index scan. Naruto opened the function panel and activated the interception function of the nervous system. System notification. Nerve interception function activated 10%, 20%. System notification. Encountered host's mental resistance. Nerve interception function is blocked. Naruto comforted her. Relax, don't resist. Gurney bit his lip and nodded obediently, but there was no change in the data. He was still extremely nervous. Come breathe in with me, exhale. Gurney followed suit. There was a slight change in the data, but it was very weak. Normal communication had little effect, so he could only 3 strands of red hair on Naruto's head floated over, and aimed at 3 acupuncture points on Gurney's body. This was the disguised application of Hyuga Taijutsu. Gurney's body stiffened, and he fell limp. The data showed that it was like a waterfall that suddenly fell. The effect was outstanding. Gurney stared at Naruto with wide eyes, as if asking him what he had done to him. Naruto gave him a gentle smile. Then he took out a mask and put it on. At this time, Sakura Haruno suddenly contacted Naruto. Naruto-kun. The second Naruto is going to kill Sasuke-kun. Hurry up and stop him. Naruto's expression didn't change. Oh, I know. Sakura Haruno was stunned. Then you're just going to watch the second Naruto kill Sasuke-kun? Naruto replied. Tobirama is very gentle. Well, I have to operate on Gurney, so I can't talk to you anymore. With that, Naruto cut off the call. Then he switched the ID card's call mode to reject the call. Naruto was aware of the second Naruto's decision. And regarding this matter, Naruto and Tobirama had a long talk through the night. From the perspective of combat power, a ninja must be good at what they are good at. The Uchiha clan is good at genjutsu, so the right path is to use it to the extreme. However, this is only from the perspective of combat power. Analyzing the Uchiha clan's dojutsu. The essence of dojutsu is the change of spiritual force. The qualitative change of spiritual force leads to the change of dojutsu. 1 tomo, 2 tomo, 3 tomo, and even mangekyo. The strength of spiritual force is determined by a person's willpower. In other words, a person's persistence or extreme degree. For example, the Uchiha clan can use dojutsu when witnessing the death of a loved one. At the moment of witnessing the death of a loved one, spiritual force will be unprecedentedly condensed, and emotions will also erupt at this moment. This leads to a qualitative change of spiritual force. But in the discussion between Naruto and Tobirama, this way of opening dojutsu is not the right way. If negative emotions such as fear and hatred are the key to causing a qualitative change of spiritual force, then a person's spiritual force and personality will be affected by negative emotions. According to Tobirama's experience with the Uchiha clan, just 1 tomo to 3 tomo is enough to turn an Uchiha with strong willpower into an extreme madman. So Tobirama's original words were that Sasuke is not allowed to continue to use these eyes if he doesn't have enough capacity to bear the Sharingan. It will not only destroy others, but also destroy oneself. The result is only blindness and becoming a cripple. He will not allow his apprentice to be a cripple. Oh, this master and apprentice. I'm really looking forward to what will happen. Naruto muttered in his heart. Originally, Naruto planned to transplant Hashirama's cells into Sasuke's body, But now, he can only wait and see. The seal scroll was unlocked, and Gurney's right leg appeared on the operating table. It was a leg that was still placed flat in the incubator. It was very long, very straight, and very white. The moment the long leg appeared, Gurney's gaze shifted from Naruto's face to the leg. A super beautiful leg. Is this my leg? For a moment, the trace of fear in the bottom of Gurney's heart disappeared. The operation began. Chakra's scalpel condensed in his hand, and with one cut, Gurney's long and dead leg was cut off. Under Chakra's control, no blood flowed out. Then the culture tank opened, and Naruto's chakra wrapped around Gurney's arm and floated over. The scalpel went down again. Under the perception enchantment, Naruto began to control Chakra's line to connect bones, nerves, and blood vessels. His movements were smooth, even smoother than yesterday's operation. 5 minutes later, the leg was connected. Then the operation on the left leg began. At the same time, in the arena, Sasuke used all his strength to endure the pain of his dislocated arm and roared, "Even if I die, I will not give up on these eyes." For a moment, Sasuke's spiritual power skyrocketed, and Chakra's blood boiled, and it was about to break through the acupuncture points in his body. Chapter 423. Sasuke's spiritual power was highly concentrated under the pressure of Tobirama. His will broke through again at this moment. At the same time, Chakra was affected by the spiritual power and entered berserk mode. It rushed to the blocked acupoints with all its strength. Variable? Tobirama looked indifferent. He wanted to kill Sasuke directly now. That was his original intention. He was too lazy to educate people who disobeyed him. Only his brother would do that kind of troublesome thing. But he also promised Naruto not to kill Sasuke. The kunai in his hand turned, and Tobirama hit Sasuke's lower abdomen with the kunai. Boom. It hit the vital point. The human body's midline is the most fragile part of the human body. Sasuke's lower abdomen was hit hard, and the muscles of his body contracted violently. At this moment, his lungs couldn't breathe because of the muscle abnormality. The momentum of the whole person was extinguished, and the gathered will was also scattered. Tobirama didn't stop. He stepped forward and pressed his hand on Sasuke's calf, palm against the calf. Lift the palm. From the bottom to the top, the kneading force from the palm directly lifted Sasuke's body. At the moment when Sasuke's body was in the air, Tobirama once again greeted the 18 acupoints of Sasuke's abdomen. The technique was the Hyuga clan's Taijutsu Bagua palm. The 18 acupoints of Sasuke's abdomen were sealed again, and the restless chakra finally calmed down. Plop! Sasuke's body was thrown to the ground like a broken sack. His 2 arms were already dislocated, so they were flipped over at an extremely strange angle and fell to his side. Dialect. Hang at will. His shoulders were also swollen. Naruto took out a scroll and walked toward Sasuke with a blank expression. You don't agree? It's not up to you. Sasuke lay on the ground for a long time, before he breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing Tobirama covering his face with the scroll, he suddenly felt uneasy. He shouted, "What are you doing?" Tobirama calmly replied, "My original intention was to dig out your eyes and replace them with ordinary eyes. But Naruto said that he hasn't done an eye removal surgery before. He's afraid that you'll go blind. So I had to take a step back. I sealed your Sharingan." After saying that, Tobirama directly dislocated Sasuke's chin that was about to bite the scroll. Once again, Sasuke's neck stiffened and couldn't move. After that, he calmly took out a small bottle of blood and placed it on the scroll. His hands formed a seal, and the glyph array was activated. This jutsu is a sealing technique I developed based on the Hyuga clan's caged bird. Originally, I wanted to brand the Uchiha clan, but that proposal was rejected by my brother. If you had listened to me at that time, your Uchiha clan wouldn't have been exterminated. After this sentence, the speed of Tobirama's hand seals increased rapidly. Seal. The curse seal extended from the scroll to Sasuke's forehead, around his eyes, and spread out like a spider web. For a moment, Sasuke felt his vision blurring. His eyelids were getting heavier and heavier. Sasuke struggled for 10 seconds. But the more he persisted, the more sleepy he became. Finally, after 13 seconds, he couldn't hold on anymore and closed his eyes and fell asleep. After doing this, Tobarama lifted the system's call blocking state. System prompt. You have 68 call reminders blocked. 68 calls? Tobarama was stunned. He clicked on the list, and then saw a row of Sakura Haruno neatly lined up in a row. Sakura, that girl. Tobarama glanced at Sasuke on the ground and said with a sarcastic tone. Of all the people she likes the Uchiha clan guy? It's another tragedy. There was a sense of melancholy in this sentence. He didn't know if it touched some bad memories deep in his memory. At the same time, Guni's operation was also completed. The operation was very successful. The bones, tendons, nervous system, and even the skin healed very well. And there was no rejection. However, it would take at least another month for him to truly use his legs. This was estimated based on the strong recovery ability of a ninja. If it was an ordinary person, it would take at least 3 months or even longer. Congratulations, the operation was more successful than expected. Naruto smiled happily. Giving Gurney and the other 2 girls real arms was also one of the things on his mind. Gurney's eyes were wide open as he stared at his own legs. They were beautiful, straight, slender, and smooth. His skin was so fair that it looked as if it was glowing. There were also small feet, smooth instep, and clear ankles. Everything was like a work of art. It was so beautiful that it made people forget to breathe. But the problem was that she couldn't feel her legs. Her heart was uneasy because of this. Really? But I can't feel the existence of my legs? Naruto smiled and said, Of course you can't feel them. Naruto raised his hand and pointed at the metal chain around the base of Guni's legs. Your legs are very fragile because they have just been reattached. In order to prevent your disobedience from affecting the healing of the wounds, I set up a mental barrier here. Listening to Naruto's explanation, Guru finally put down the heavy stone in his heart. When she came back to her senses, she finally noticed something else. Naruto's eyes were looking at that part of her body. She couldn't help but blush and said timidly, That. Can you stop looking? Naruto was stunned and blinked. Only then did he notice that Guni was still naked, and her little butt was right in front of him. So he quickly turned his head and explained, A doctor has the heart of a parent. My eyes are absolutely not colored. Seeing Naruto suddenly panic, Guni burst out laughing. If it's Naruto, then it's okay to look. Besides, I've already touched it. You've already touched it? Naruto's face turned even redder. Because he was nervous just now, he didn't think too much. He quickly pulled out a white sheet to cover that part of her body. Then he changed the topic and said, That. Your surgery is done. It's time for the next person. Guni looked at Naruto's side profile and pursed her lips into a smile. Then she said solemnly, Naruto, thank you. It was rare to see such a docile Guni. Naruto suddenly felt embarrassed for a moment. He didn't know where to put his hands. He turned his head away and scratched his head awkwardly. That. It's nothing. I promised you that I'll let you have a real. The moment Naruto turned his head, Guni's face suddenly moved closer, and a wisp of her lips covered his. It was a little cold and wet. Their lips touched and parted. Guni retracted her head and said timidly, That. This is to thank you. You don't have to take responsibility. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? Naruto's mind went blank. He was so stunned that he didn't know anything. Guni pulled the corner of Naruto's hand. Push me out. Naruto turned his head around in a daze. Huh? Ah. Then he pushed Guni out of the operating theater like a robot. The second surgery was on little Guni. Little Guni had an arm and a leg that needed a transplant. The surgery began. Naruto was still in a daze. Guni kissed him. Speaking of which, this was the second time he was kissed. The first time was by Feng Hua Xiaoshui. However, Feng Hua Xiaoshui kissed him on the cheek. Guni was bolder than Feng Hua Xiaoshui and kissed him on the lips. So, did that mean that Guni liked him? What should he do if Guni liked him? Should he continue to play dumb? It was troublesome to be too outstanding. While he was thinking, Naruto started the surgery. Little Guni exclaimed, Wait! Big brother Naruto, are you going to put my leg on my arm? Naruto came back to his senses. That was right. He was holding Guni's leg and trying to put it on Guni's arm. Fortunately, the arm and leg were not cut open. It was extremely awkward, wasn't it? Chapter 424. Sasuke's eyes were sealed, and Naruto felt it was a pity. According to the development of the original world, although Sasuke was confused for a while, he eventually got out of hatred and found what he wanted to protect in his heart. But the price he paid was also quite expensive. His beloved brother died in his own hands. Now, it should be different, right? You decided to seal his eyes like this? In a small conference room, Naruto and Tobirama sat together. Tobirama's attitude was very firm. He is not worthy of these eyes now. Tobirama thought of a person and added, unless he can grow up to be like Mirror, he is worthy of this power. Mirror, Uchiha Mirror. Naidame Naruto's former close friend, and the only person in the Uchiha clan that Naidame Naruto recognized. Naruto nodded. In fact, his heart was a little guilty. In the face of such a righteous and upright Tobirama, Naruto was a little ashamed of himself. In terms of consciousness, Naruto is a more selfish person. He will help his relatives and not help reason. The layout of his heart really hasn't reached the point of caring for the world. What's more embarrassing is, Tobirama misunderstood that he wanted to unify the world and wanted to assist him. He didn't know what would happen if Tobirama knew what he was thinking. Sasuke, what's next? How are you going to train him? Well, I'm just curious. After all, you are his teacher now, I won't intervene. Tobirama picked up the teacup on the table. The body of the Edo Tensei can't really absorb the nutrition of food. However, the sense of taste still exists, so Tobirama will taste tea or eat ice cream from time to time. Then the tea or ice cream in the stomach will be vaporized and expelled from the body, which is a waste to some extent. I will let him go to the mercenary academy like others. I will keep an eye on him. There was a trace of hesitation and complexity in Tobirama's eyes. And after a while he said with melancholy, in the end he is the last descendant of the Uchiha clan. If possible, I don't want the Uchiha clan to disappear from this world, otherwise, I won't have the face to see the mirror again. Naruto gulped down a cup of hot tea. He could see that Tobirama didn't say anything, but he still cared about the Uchiha clan. He was also the Tsundere submissive mentioned earlier. Going to the mercenary academy is also a good choice. After all, I can learn new techniques there. For example, the last time we studied the combination of the Hyuga clan's taijutsu and perception barrier. I used it when I operated on Gurney and the others, and the effect was very good. Naidame Naruto's eyes lit up. I also think it's very useful. I used that trick to beat Sasuke. If I didn't have it, it would have been troublesome to deal with the Uchiha clan's Sharingan. The two looked at each other and smiled, and at the same time, their faces showed a wicked expression. Tobirama suddenly thought of something. Last time you proposed to integrate the chakra decomposition formation and the Edo Tensei. Do you have any progress on your side? The integration of the chakra decomposition formation and the Edo Tensei body is a topic that both Tobirama and Naruto are more concerned about. For a long time, the Edo Tensei body has been a disposable battery that can't be recharged. After one use it's useless. If it can be recharged, it will be a great thing. After all, even the enemy's life is a life. It's really a waste to use it like this. Also, after the Snow Country reached a cooperative relationship with several major countries, the number of ninjas and mercenaries invading the Snow Country is getting fewer and fewer. If one day no enemy dares to come to the Snow Country again, then it won't be so easy to find the Edo Tensei body. I've been thinking about this matter, but the missing algorithm of the chakra decomposition formation is the biggest obstacle. One more thing, the chakra decomposition formation needs to be on the body of a living person to succeed, and it's not compatible with the body of the Edo Tensei. Tobirama nodded. If only brother and sister-in-law were here, she must have a way to solve it. Then the other two methods are also problems. The other two methods, one is to extract the soul of the Edo Tensei and transfer it to the body of a living person. The other is to artificially make a container that can accommodate the Edo Tensei. The former is not compatible with the body of the living because of the difference between the soul after death and the soul of the living. The latter lacks a carrier that can carry the soul. In short, solving the defects of the Edo Tensei is very difficult. Resurrecting the dead is challenging the authority of God. It's normal that it's difficult. Naruto comforted him casually. Tobirama nodded in agreement. One more thing. I think it's necessary to implement the proposal I made last time. Tobirama has proposals every day, and Naruto really didn't know which one it was, so he could only ask. Which proposal? Tobirama said seriously. It's about the profession of ninja. The essence of chakra is to extract the vitality and spiritual power in the body, so the life of a ninja is shorter than that of ordinary people. So I want to abolish the profession of ninja. Can't the spiritual network provide chakra? In this case, after the students learn how to extract chakra and use chakra, the students are prohibited from using their own chakra in battle. Let the students use chakra provided by the Great Snow Mountain. This is a proposal. Naruto also thinks it's good. It's just that there is a problem to solve at present. Because of the heterogeneous spiritual power of the chakra synthesized by the Great Snow Mountain, the conversion efficiency of chakra is low when the recipient uses it to change the nature of chakra. The solution has been thought of, that is, to transport the chakra of the Great Snow Mountain to the client, and then decompose chakra into pure vitality, so that the students can use their own spiritual power to perfectly combine with this vitality. In the end, it's the bottleneck of chakra decomposition technology. This proposal is very good, but it has to wait until the bottleneck of chakra decomposition technology is solved. Tobirama scratched his head embarrassedly. I'm impatient. But as long as I think that once this new profession rises, the power will be completely in our hands, my heart can't calm down. At that time, we can completely control the war. The power will never be abused again. What a beautiful day it will be. The more Tobirama said, the more excited he became. Naruto couldn't help but pour a basin of cold water. But there is one thing that needs to be solved first, that is, what method did Orochimaru use to shield the bottom link of the spiritual network? If this problem is not solved, then the power we control will be a joke. The effect of this basin of cold water was extremely good. The surging thousand hands was immediately calmed down amidst the sizzling steam. This problem is really serious. But after a moment of hesitation, Tobirama's eyes once again ignited with the flame of excitement. But boss, what kind of name should we give to the new profession? Boss, is Tobirama going to stand side by side with Big Fatty? But in the end, Tobirama is indeed very close to Big Fatty recently. The name. Let's think about it later. Tobirama nodded seriously. This is destined to be recorded in the history books, and it is indeed necessary to be cautious. Is it really so great? Naruto didn't think so much. After the long-winded Tobirama left, Naruto sat alone in the conference room. It has been a month since Guni kissed him. During this time, Guni has become the headache-inducing and lazy girl of the past. She really didn't mention the day when she took the initiative to kiss Naruto. It seems that there is no follow-up to that matter. As Guni said, she just wanted to kiss him, and she didn't need to take responsibility. Naruto-kun? I just saw Naidame Naruto, Sama leave. Hinata walked into the room. Naruto looked at Hinata seriously. Hinata, there is something I think I should tell you. Hinata came to Naruto's side, nodded and listened. Chapter 425. Hinata. That. Naruto looked at Hinata, who was right in front of him. Hinata's eyes looked a little ethereal. But after a few more glances, one would find that ethereal beauty. It was like the deep sky, pure and flawless. That. Naruto decided to tell Hinata about the kiss. Otherwise, he would feel like he had betrayed Hinata. But at this moment, Naruto's stomach rumbled. Hinata blinked cutely and looked down at Naruto's stomach. She covered her mouth with her little fist and laughed. Naruto-kun is hungry, right? Hinata will go and cook for Naruto-kun. Naruto nodded blankly. Ah, I'm hungry. Seeing Hinata run out of the room, Naruto was like a deflated balloon. He suddenly felt empty and slumped on the sofa. He still didn't say it. Hinata had a very good relationship with the girls. If he said it, it would be very awkward, right? If Hinata told him that Sasuke kissed her, what would the result be? Maybe he would be cut down with a knife. Or maybe he would be turned into a sky lantern. In Ninetales' sealed space, Little Nine played with his tail and asked, "What did you want to say to that girl? I felt that you were very nervous. It definitely wasn't as simple as eating." Naruto rolled his eyes. He was glad that he had cut off the mental link with Ninetales that day. Otherwise, with Ninetales' big mouth, who knew what would happen? Naruto walked out of the meeting room and met 01, who was standing at the door. "What's the matter? Why didn't you come in?" 01's broken arm had been fitted with a prosthetic, and he looked no different from a normal person. 007, is there still no news from the guild master? These past few days, I've been a little worried. I'm afraid that something bad has happened to them. And the assassination mission at the underground market. Naruto had been trying his best to find out about the Clown Emperor. For this reason, Naruto even revealed his identity as 07 to Emoting, the Edo Tensei. However, the Clown Emperor's news was cut off in the Fire Nation. It was as if he had evaporated in the Fire Country. Don't let your imagination run wild. You're probably worried about Little Gunny and the others. That's why you're panicking. That was not entirely wrong. As someone who had also lost an arm, 01 had been paying close attention to the recovery of Gurney and the others' limbs. Furthermore, 01's limbs had also begun to grow. If there were no accidents, 01 would be able to get rid of his disability like Gurney in 3 months' time. After successfully changing the topic, Naruto brought 0 to the 3 girls for a final examination. At the same time, he contacted the Edo Reincarnations Inc. through the mental network. Is there still no news about the Clown Emperor? After learning that Naruto was 007, Emoting didn't show much expression. She just asked if she could be truly resurrected. Naruto's answer was, yes, it's just a matter of time. Then Emoting promised to continue following Naruto, but added a condition. After the success of this technology, one more person can be resurrected, the boy who died because of the guild master. Naruto agreed. In the spiritual network, Moting replied, "The latest news is that they have been traced to a small town near the Woodleaf Ninja Village. They ate ramen in that town. I suspect that they may have entered the Woodleaf Village." Entered the Woodleaf Village? If that's the case, there's only one possibility, that is, someone has guessed or learned of his identity. Then when was he exposed? This thought only appeared for a moment, and then it was extinguished by Naruto. It doesn't matter if he was discovered or not. The important thing is to find these silly girls who ate the bear's heart and leopard's courage. It's just that, if he continues to wait for the Woodleaf Village to convene Chunon's exam, where should he go first? Logically speaking, it's naturally the most appropriate time to go when Chunon's exam is held. But after a long time, the guild master and the others may really have problems. After all, the guild master and the others have seen him and Hinata's true faces. If this is known by the people in the Woodleaf Village. No, if they really went to the Woodleaf Village, there's no news for so long. The result is obviously that the Woodleaf Village already knows. After all, with the Woodleaf Village's interrogation methods, the strength of a person's logical thinking is directly related to the brain's computational ability. And Naruto's brain is obviously already extraordinary. In just a moment, he made a lot of guesses. Based on the fact that the Woodleaf Village already knows about him. What will the Woodleaf Village do? Naruto's footsteps stopped. He asked Ink through the spiritual network. I remember. The information you investigated yesterday only reached the Fire Country, then the information was cut off. Ink didn't understand the meaning in Naruto's words and directly replied. This morning, 2 drunkards were talking about women on the road. One of them was talking about a woman wearing a red trench coat. I listened for a while at the side. The image is very similar to that of the Clown Emperor's president. So I followed the clues and found the wine shop that the drunkards were talking about. Then I collected information along the way, and found this small town at the edge of the Woodleaf Village. Drunkards encountered on the street? The corners of Naruto's mouth curled up slightly, a playful smile on his face. Ink, activate the perception barrier to the maximum in an instant. I will give you points. At the same time, a system notification sounded in Ink's ears. System notification. Received 500 points. System notification. The points are valid for 1 hour. Ink was shocked and thought of a possibility. You mean, I've been discovered? This information is, Naruto calmly replied. Do as I say. Ink didn't ask any more questions. He adjusted the perception barrier's power to the maximum on the control panel. The client perception barrier's range is 50 kilometers. In an instant, with Ink as the center, the perception barrier rapidly expanded in a spherical shape, sweeping through the entire town in the blink of an eye. System notification. Chakra's fluctuations have been detected. System notification. Beginning to mark Chakra's fluctuations location. System notification. Generating scan map. In 3 seconds, a scan map of 50 kilometers was drawn in front of Ink. There were a total of 5 Chakra's locations in the scan map. 3 of them were lurking around Ink. Moreover, these people were wearing typical Umbu ninja attire. The results of the scan were sent to Naruto, and Naruto's face brightened. You can leave now, find a hidden place and directly teleport away. He hung up. Naruto took a deep breath. Although he didn't know how Woodleaf's people had locked onto Ink, based on the current situation, Woodleaf was trying to lure him to Woodleaf. Then who was it that wanted him so badly? Sister Zero, let me tell you a piece of good news. I found the president and the others. Zero was pleasantly surprised. Really? That's great. Where are they? Naruto grinned. I'll tell you when I get them back. Zero was a bit hesitant. Are they in danger? Naruto shook his head. No, they're much safer than what I'm worried about. Chapter 426. Land of Fire. Woodleaf Ninja Village. Naruto building. Naruto's office. 3 Umbu ninja were waiting in front of Naruto's desk. Kakashi listened to the news brought back by the 3 and was thinking. The news has been released, and now it's up to Naruto's choice. So, what will Naruto choose? Will he ignore the news or, if Naruto is still the Naruto he knew, then he definitely won't ignore this news. Kakashi waved the 3 Umbu ninjas back, and at this time, Jiraiya walked in. Jiraiya glanced at the direction where the Umbu ninjas left and said, If Naruto comes back, how do you plan to deal with Naruto? This question is also the problem that Kakashi has been having a headache. Well, let's catch him first. The vague answer made Jiraiya frown. Keep him locked up, and then drag him out when Konoha needs him to make the best use of him. Until he dies, and then choose the next human pillar force? Kakashi replied, No, but he must be punished for what he did. Jiraiya asked, Then how do you plan to punish him? Kakashi brought back the previous words, Let's catch him first. It seems that he didn't like being questioned. Kakashi asked, Then do you have a better idea? Jiraiya turned his head and looked out the window. No. Kakashi rolled his eyes, and the 2 of them looked out of the window in silence. At the same time in the Great Snow Mountain Laboratory, Naruto was checking little Gunny's body. There is no problem at all, as long as you don't do strenuous exercise, just living a normal life will not affect the interface. Little Gunny was lying on the bed with a joyful look. Really? Then that ring can be removed today, right? Naruto raised his hand and pressed on the metal ring. The seal was triggered, and the metal ring was loosened. Then, she was pleasantly surprised to find that she could feel her newly reattached limbs. Little Gunny tried to raise his hand, but because his muscles had yet to be trained, his movements were not very nimble. In fact, it was a little shaky, but he managed to raise his hand. Little Gunny was so excited that he started crying. Let me do it. Take off the metal bracelets on my body. Seeing that little Gunny's hand could move, Gunny could not wait any longer. Naruto pressed his hand on Gunny's knee. A talisman thread extended to the 2 metal rings at the base of Gunny's thigh, and the metal rings loosened. Gurney's toes twitched. Next was Big Gunny. The amputated limb transplant surgery of the 3 patients came to a perfect end. Big brother Naruto, do you still remember that we prepared a surprise for you? Little Gunny's face was already covered in tears. He cried and cried, then laughed and cried again. She was sobbing and looked very painful. Naruto replied, I remember. I've been looking forward to it, so I healed you guys as quickly as possible. Little Gunny was amused by Naruto's words, but his tears were still on his face. 01 handed over a tissue to wipe Little Gunny's tears. Little Gunny looked at his two sisters. The three of them exchanged glances and whispered to each other mysteriously. Little Gunny asked, Who's going to demonstrate? I can't wear that thing yet. Big Gunny looked at Gunny and said, Let her do it. Can't you see that her tail is wagging? Gunny was very happy, and his face was especially bright. He promised, Leave it to me. With that, Gunny left the room. The muscles of his newly reattached feet were still very weak, but with chakra around, it was not a problem. Naruto touched his nose and probed. What are you guys doing? Why do I feel like you're all crazy? Little Gunny wiped his tears and wiped his nose. When Big Brother Naruto wasn't back, we came up with something. Then, she saw Big Fatty staring at her. She added, Okay, Big Brother also participated. Seeing that he was mentioned, Big Fatty finally nodded in satisfaction. I'm back. Along with the dull sound of metal hitting the ground, a human-shaped metal armor appeared in front of Naruto. It was covered in pure metal without any paint layer. Is this the metal armor? The metal armor in front of him was much fatter than Iron Man. It was a little bloated, but from the flexibility of its movements, it was obvious that its basic technology was close to maturity. You guys actually came up with this thing when I wasn't around. Amazing. Where's the data? Let me see. Gunny controlled the armor and put his hands on his waist. Come and fight with me. The data will be more direct if you see it yourself. Want to fight? Naruto was eager to try, but he was not as careless as Gunny. Gunny's body was still recuperating, and he could not even do strenuous exercise, let alone fight. If you really want to fight, wait for 2 months. You can't fight right now. Clack! The metal buckle was undone, and Gunny's face was revealed from the armor. He begged, It's okay, we can just play a little. Naruto raised his hand and knocked on Gunny's armor. He shook his head seriously and said, Little Gunny, did you use your ability to draw this metal? And it didn't use any precious metal. It can't even take a punch from me. Gunny did not believe him. You're lying. This metal is hard. Before he could finish, Naruto gestured for him to look at the spot where Naruto had knocked. There was a handprint there. Gunny was not the only one who was shocked. Everyone was shocked. 01 pressed his hand on Gunny's armor. It's hard. Use force. He could not even press it, let alone make a handprint. 01 your body. Naruto thought for a moment and pulled out a kunai from the ninja backpack on 01's waist. Naruto did not move. The only thing that moved was his red hair that had a metallic luster. Naruto's hair brushed past the kunai, and it was cut open like a piece of paper. Everyone's eyes widened in surprise. 01 guessed. Did you inject chakra into your hair? That's not difficult. Naruto smiled bitterly. Then I'll put chakra away. You can try again. Naruto put chakra away. His hair, which originally reached his buttocks, suddenly grew long and fell to the ground. Then, the metal plate on the ground was cut open by his naturally falling hair. Not a single strand of hair floated on the ground. It was still straight down for who knows how many meters. The chakra I infuse into my hair is used to shorten it. Now you can try again. Don't use your hands, or I'll cut your hands off. The girls found a pair of scissors and cut the hair. The hair was fine, but the scissors were cut. Naruto Oniai-san. You're so sick. Naruto. Was that a compliment? However, Naruto had no choice. His body had already mutated after fusing with Ninetales chakra. Gunny pouted. Then isn't this thing that we developed completely useless? It can't help you at all. Naruto shook his head and said with certainty, The thing you developed is very useful. Gunny did not believe him. What's the use? You don't need it at all. Naruto smiled. But you can wear it. With this outfit, I can take you to space next time. Chapter 427. After seeing how crazy Naruto was, Guni finally gave up the idea of challenging Naruto. At the same time, the technical data of the metal suit was also sent to Naruto in the form of a document. The data showed the control technology of the metal suit used the regional spiritual network. To put it simply, it was a spiritual connection and the data processing function of the super brain. The metal suit itself was an extension of the artificial limb technology. Naruto nodded. Most of the technology itself was ready-made. The most troublesome part was the coding of the control system, and this part was done by Defei. The other part was the construction of the exoskeleton. This part was designed based on the drawings drawn by Naruto in the past, and combined with the actual situation. Don't look at it. It's actually nothing. It's not that great of a research. Guni, who was eager to show off his treasures, blushed. Naruto shook his head. Although it's not as powerful as expected in actual combat, it can't erase its value. Moreover, there are still many things that can be optimized. Guni pouted. How to optimize it? Naruto organized his words slightly, and then spoke out his idea. First of all, in terms of movement, you can try to install rollers on the feet. This way, you can achieve high-speed movement on flat ground. You can make some design on the rollers, such as spikes. They can adapt to snow and ice. In addition, remember last time I said that you can add a connected artificial limb skeleton to the metal suit? With the artificial limb skeleton, you can complete the unmanned operation. Also, if you can connect it to the spiritual network, it's extremely suitable for reconnaissance. Coupled with summoning technique and a contract with the metal suit, it's also very easy to recycle. Some of these words were also said by Naruto when he first proposed the metal suit project. But last time it was just a theory on paper, and this time it will soon become a reality. The depressed girls were once again stimulated by Naruto. Little Guni's eyes lit up. Then let's continue the research? Guni nodded. Let's continue. Not far away, Tobirama's face was serious. After the girls and Naruto finished talking, Tobirama asked, since it can be remotely controlled, then ordinary people can also control this weapon, right? Little Guni replied. In theory it's possible, but ordinary people's adaptability is not as good as ninjas, and the control will be greatly reduced. Tobirama asked. What about after a long time of training? Little Guni didn't know why Tobirama was so she replied unhappily. That's right, a pig can climb a tree. A pig can climb a tree? Naruto, who was watching the fun, thought seriously. But Tobirama didn't give Naruto time to think. Boss, I strongly suggest you to add the method of how to control the controls, how to operate to control of the mercenaries. What? Well, Tobirama can always make good suggestions in order to complete the so-called world hegemony. Naruto replied. Yes, don't you want to be a teacher? Come on, you can be a robot teacher in the future. No matter what, you are a researcher, ha ha. Naruto's words coaxed Little Guni. Little Guni, who was unhappy because he didn't help Naruto, was happy again. Okay, it's a deal. Then Tobirama said again. I have another idea. Naruto said. If you have an idea, just say it. Tobirama pondered for a moment, and seemed to have made a decision. You said that the person called Sasori can control all kinds of puppets with only one meat core, so, can it also be added to this kind of armor? This, Naruto pondered. The fusion of flesh and armor. Is it possible to do an EVA? But is it possible to animate the metal suit? If it's really possible, it seems that it can accommodate souls that can make up for the shortcomings of the Edo Tensei. This proposal is a bit interesting. In fact, Naruto also thought about it at the beginning, but at that time, he didn't think that he could get the method to make a puppet core. This idea can be developed, but only as an extension of the metal suit, and it will be studied separately. The name of the project. Let's call it Living Mecha. Tobirama, you can be the person in charge. By the way, have you learned all the knowledge of curses? Even if you didn't learn it, there should be no problem with the help of the super brain system. Tobirama replied seriously. There is no problem with curses, but other aspects. Tobirama looked at the metal suit with a confused face. Naruto smiled. Since it's an extension of the metal suit, there is no need to study it by yourself. You can directly use the research results of Guni and the others. In other words, you can work together to complete it. Is there a problem? Tobarama was about to nod, but suddenly he saw a person who was sneaking away and suggested, "Since it involves living creatures, I think it is necessary to let Yakushi Kabuto participate." The person who was sneaking away was Yakushi Kabuto. Yakushi Kabuto was about to refuse, but Naruto spoke first. "Well, you are the person in charge of the project. You can take care of this. If there is anything I can help with, you can ask me." Refuse again? Boss said he wanted to participate, but he still couldn't help it. Wait. Boss said I can even ask boss for help? Yakushi Kabuto suddenly raised his hand. That. Boss, I have something I need you to do. Naruto nodded. Say it. Yakushi Kabuto said directly. That. Boss, can you come to my lab? I want to study your body again. Huh? Yakushi Kabuto's lab? Study the body. Naruto's face darkened. You don't want to cut me into pieces, do you? Yakushi Kabuto shook his head. No. Give me a strand of your hair, fingernail, blood, cells. Yakushi Kabuto was about to say something when he saw Naruto's expression. He immediately shut up. Well, that's enough for now. Naruto rolled his eyes. With a flip of his hand, Kusanagi sword appeared in his hand. Then he cut one of the hairs. Ding. There was a sound of metal hitting metal. But he still cut off a section. After the hair was cut off, the short hair seemed to have a life of its own. It glowed red and repaired itself. It began to grow at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, it grew to the same length as the rest of the hair. Take the hair first, I'll give you the rest later. Several people looked at the scene in front of them in amazement. Tobarama spoke first. Boss, do you want to try to let others use the same method to devour Nine-Tails chakra? What is this for? To create a super soldier? But it seems quite interesting. Well, let's find someone from the Snowy Mountains death row to try. In the sealed space of Nine-Tails, Xiaojio's face darkened. I haven't agreed yet. And that guy called Tobarama. I'll remember it. Don't let me find a chance. Otherwise I'll kill him. Naruto comforted him. It's just a small test. Besides, he's already dead. Nine-Tails. Chapter 428. In the land of demons at the foot of a remote mountain, a funeral was being held. It was a very simple funeral, and only 2 people attended the funeral. If you want to add one more member. There was also a pig, digging a hole, burying people, and erecting a monument. Simple things were done at an extremely fast speed. It was still snowing in the sky at this time. It was snowing heavily, but it was very quiet. Soon, the newly erected grave was covered tightly. The monument in front of the grave was a wooden monument. There were no carvings on the wooden monument, and there were no inscriptions. It was blank. The snow was heavier, and the person whose body was hidden in a black cloak bowed, and was about to leave. At this time, the person who had been hesitating finally spoke. Uncle said to bury his ashes together. The person in front didn't pay attention to the person behind, and just sped up. The person behind picked up the piglet who was still shivering in cotton clothes. The worry between his eyebrows deepened. He made up his mind and shouted, Uncle has forbidden you to resurrect him again. And you agreed. The person in front finally stopped. Looking back, he said with a look of annoyance, The snow is so heavy, why are you so long-winded? Hurry up and go back. As he said, he turned his head again, and his footsteps were faster. However, under the cloak, the hand holding the urn tightened, and became more careful. The people buried in the snow were Tsunade and Shizune. Needless to say, the pig who was about to freeze was Tubu. Shizune sighed and ran to catch up. She insisted. You promised Uncle not to resurrect him again. Tsunade's appearance at this time was a man's face, and she replied impatiently in a rough voice. You don't need to remind me of this. Since I promised, I won't do it. Shizune was stunned. The 2 of them walked back home in silence, one in front of the other. It was a stone house with a bonfire. The house wasn't small, about 100 square meters. There was a courtyard and a farmhouse outside. Then Shizen looked at the urn in Tsunade's hand and hesitated. Tsunade said unhappily, "Can't I keep it?" Shizen had talked back to Tsunade many times today, and her courage for this month was all used up. She shrank her neck and hid to the side. Tubu in her arms also shrank his neck. After a long time, the stiff atmosphere eased a lot under the roasting of the fire. Silent Sound quietly asked, "Then are we going to continue living here?" Tsunade said unhappily, "There's no casino here. What are you doing here?" Jingyin said weakly, "Promise uncle that you won't gamble anymore." Tsunade sneered, "He's dead. Why should I listen to him?" Mute once again looked at the urn worriedly. Outside the window, heavy snow swirled in the air. Only a plop sound could be heard. Half a foot of snow on the roof slid down and smashed into the courtyard. Next year's harvest should be good. Mute looked out of the window and mumbled to herself. Beside him, Tun Tun was comfortably warming up by the fire. It was so comfortable that he kept moaning. At the same time, it was snowing on the wood leaf. Outside the wood leaf ninja village, at the bottom of the frozen river, Naruto was sitting in his self-made igloo, grilling fish. Pure fire attribute chakra barbecue, 0 row and 0 pollution. Beside Naruto, there was a projection of a dog. It was Shiba Inu. Shiba Inu's big tongue clanged as it stared at the steaming golden grilled fish. Naruto said with annoyance, "Why are you staring so seriously? You can't eat it anyway." Shiba Inu replied seriously, "I'm imagining the taste of it in my mouth." Naruto rolled his eyes and was too lazy to pay attention to this silly dog. After the grilled fish was done, Naruto took a plate and put the grilled fish in it first. He wasn't in a hurry to eat, so he took out an iron pot. He added water, boiled it, and then took out Manda's meat and evenly cut it into several pieces, put it in the pot, and then began to make soup. Naruto's left hand continued to boil the soup with a fireball, while his right hand picked up the fish and began to rub it. Shiba Inu was even more excited, and its eyes were almost shining. Its tail was like a helicopter, and it couldn't stop at all. "Master, that I heard from Yakushi." Shiba Inu's face was full of flattery. Naruto added some seasoning to the fish and continued to rub it. "What did he say?" Shiba Inu licked its dog nose and whispered, "Yakushi said that an existence like me might be able to obtain a physical body." Obtain a physical body? Naruto suddenly understood. No wonder Shiba Inu stared at the fish. It was showing that it wanted meat. Naruto pretended not to know. "What do you want a physical body for? Do you want to make yourself into a dog meat hot pot for me?" Crack! Shiba Inu's tail was broken, and its dog face was stiff with its mouth open. It said timidly, "I'll catch another dog for you and make it into a dog meat hot pot, okay? I'll pass." Naruto rolled his eyes. Catch another dog? Are dogs so realistic now? Since Yakushi said that you can obtain a physical body, then you should ask him for one. "I don't have one here." Shiba Inu then said, "I'll go now." After saying that, it disappeared with a whoosh. Soon Yakushi called, "Boss, Shiba Inu said that you want me to make a physical body for it? How?" Naruto looked at the sky, speechless. This damn dog had learned to tell lies. The dog's intelligence was growing too fast. Or should he add a dog meat hot pot in the future? Ignore it, let it play in the mud. Great Snow Mountain Research Institute, Yakushi's laboratory. Shiba Inu said proudly, "Hurry up. Boss said to make a physical body for me." Yakushi hung up the phone and waved his hand to disperse the image of Shiba Inu. Shiba Inu wanted to enter Yakushi's laboratory again, but a prompt came. Experimental grounds, dogs are not allowed to enter. Shiba Inu's dog face was conflicted, and then it turned into Pippi Whale. It tried to enter again. "Open your dog eyes, I'm a whale, not a dog." However, it still didn't have permission. Obviously, Yakushi's settings forbade its identity card, not its appearance. Yakushi hung up the phone. "Boss said to let you play in the mud." The aggressive Pippi Whale turned back into a dog and said in surprise, "You actually went to look for boss?" Yakushi hung up the phone. The silly dog was left alone. How can you bully dogs like this? outside Wood Leaf Ninja Village, at the bottom of the pond. After eating 2 grilled fish and drinking a pot of snake soup, Naruto lay down on his self-made ice bed to rest. Ninetales in the sealed space was impatient. It's been a whole day, why hasn't anyone passed by yet? You said that Konoha wasn't destroyed, right? Naruto comforted her. Be patient, you've only waited for a day and you're already impatient. Last time, in order to enter the Mist Village, I squatted outside for half a month. And, it seems that I haven't entered yet. Later, I met Orochimaru. What is Orochimaru doing now? Several thoughts flashed through Naruto's mind. Naruto's plan this time is the same as the previous 2 times. He will enter Wood Leaf with Spirit Transformation Jutsu. Now, it's convenient for Naruto to use Spirit Transformation Jutsu to control people. 9 continued to chase his tail in the cage in boredom. He stopped when he was tired and said to Naruto, "You promised me, after your spirit body leaves, I can move freely." Naruto replied, "You also promised me not to make trouble. If I ask you to come and help me or arrange other tasks, just do it." 9 nodded and said seriously, "You can rest assured. I will be obedient." Not knowing how long it took, there was finally movement in the perception barrier. A team of 4 people stepped into the barrier. The team led by Metke, Hinata Ningji, Lee Locke, and Tian Tian. Was it these few people? Then who is the spirit invader? Chapter 429. Orochimaru's Laboratory. First Naruto was lying flat on an iron bed. Next to First Naruto was a naked male body. Both of them had their eyes closed, and the runes on their beds were connected. Orochimaru stood in front of the 2 beds and carefully examined the runes. After confirming that there were no mistakes, he began to form hand seals and activated an unknown forbidden technique. Immediately after, the runes carved on the iron bed lit up one after another. The first Hokage's body turned into ashes bit by bit, revealing the face of the person inside. It seems that the Edo Tensei Jutsu has been lifted. However, the ashes didn't disappear into the void of space. Instead, they gathered on the person next to him. Soon, as the ashes merged with that person's body, that person turned into First Naruto's appearance. "What did you do to me?" First Naruto's consciousness returned. He didn't open his eyes, but the process of his memories being scattered and recalled told him that he had died again. No, to be precise, he had been reincarnated by the Edo Tensei again. He had thought that Orochimaru might summon him again when the Edo Tensei's time limit was up. However, his original body clearly still had at least 2 months to live. He didn't agree with such a method of trampling on life. First Naruto slowly opened his eyes. An imposing aura spread out without being angry. At the same time, Chakra responded to the rising anger in her heart and naturally released her aura. It was terrifying, as if Mount Tai was collapsing in front of her. The sky was collapsing, and the earth was collapsing. And it wasn't just a mental attack, even Orochimaru's base was shaking. Dust and stone fragments fell down from the cracks in the ceiling. However, Orochimaru smiled after a short daze. First Naruto also reacted and resensed his body. He found that this body had an indescribable sense of familiarity. First Naruto's aura suddenly increased greatly and attacked Orochimaru. Like a bolt of lightning, he instantly appeared in front of Orochimaru. First Naruto felt the aura of his past body from this body. Although it wasn't a complete match, it was enough to bring out most of his strength. Therefore, he wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to kill Orochimaru. Orochimaru didn't move. First generation Naruto's fist was crooked in a bizarre manner. Orochimaru punched the wall. The sound of the explosion was like thunder. Orochi's base collapsed once again. After missing the first time, First Naruto attacked again, but once again his attack flew past Orochimaru. The explosion caused by this blow caused a shockwave to roll out, blasting the falling rocks from the top floor away like a cannonball. All that was left was a deep pit that was more than 10 meters deep. "What did you do to me?" This was the second time First Naruto asked this question. However, although the 2 sentences were the same, the questions were different. Orochimaru was very calm. "Since I can let you regain the power that belongs to you, naturally, I won't let it threaten me. This voice came from Naruto's mind. To be more precise, it was his body. This body had a second will. The scenery before Naruto's eyes changed. His consciousness sank into the spiritual world. Then he saw Orochimaru. That's right, it was Orochimaru in his body. Orochimaru smiled and said, "This body is formed by the fusion of my cells and your cells. So, I also have a certain amount of control." First generation Naruto's eyebrows relaxed, and he suddenly laughed heartily. "I didn't expect you to be so powerful, ahahaha." Orochimaru calmly replied, "Thank you for the praise." First generation Naruto laughed foolishly for a while, then suddenly stopped. He fell into a great depression and muttered to himself, "I can't even deal with a junior? It seems like my time has really passed." Orochimaru comforted him. "Your strength is unquestionable, otherwise, I wouldn't have revived you." First generation Naruto raised his head. "How can your cells fuse with my cells? Could it be that you are my..." First generation Naruto seriously stared at Orochimaru's face, as if he was looking for similarities between Orochimaru's face and his own. However, in the end, he found that apart from their long hair and black hair, there were no other similarities. Orochimaru explained. "To be precise, they are White Snake Sage's cells. I fused with White Snake Sage's cells, then fused with White Snake Sage's cells again." First generation Naruto didn't understand, but showed a look of realization. "Oh, so it's like that." Orochimaru continued to explain. "However, this fusion isn't perfect without your will to drive this body. This body can't even move." First generation Naruto sensed his body again. It was very powerful, but it seemed a bit different from the Edo Tensei's body. For example, his shoulders couldn't turn 360 degrees freely. This body, was it revived with the Edo Tensei? First generation Naruto raised his doubts. Orochimaru answered without hesitation. "Not exactly. This body can be said to be alive, but it can also be said to be dead. It can be said to be half dead and half alive." First generation Naruto still didn't understand. However, he nodded seriously. "Oh, so it's like that." At this time, it was Orochimaru's turn to ask. "I've answered your questions, so now it's my turn to ask a question." Third generation Naruto and fourth generation Naruto's tempers, how are they? Are they easy to get along with? First generation Naruto was stunned and subconsciously answered. Third generation and fourth generation? I don't know. Halfway through his words, first generation Naruto realized the trap of this sentence. However, it was too late to change his words. Orochimaru's face was already smiling like a yellow flower. "Oh, so it's like that. Then I understand." Next, let's go to Woodleaf. You haven't gone back for a long time, right? The last time you went there, you were fighting and didn't have time to enjoy the scenery of Woodleaf. First generation Naruto still wanted to say something, but after taking a breath, he fell into a great sense of loss. Where was the trap of Orochimaru's sentence? It was to test whether Naruto had third generation Naruto and fourth generation Naruto reincarnated in Edo Tensei. First generation Naruto said that he hadn't. Then Orochimaru got the answer he wanted to know. It doesn't matter if he was witty or scheming, the first Hokage wasn't careful. At the same time, outside the Woodleaf Ninja Village, Naruto was making a major decision. Who was he going to possess? For people Metkai, Hinata Ninji, Lee Lock, and Tian Tian. Metkai's soul power was definitely not as good as Naruto's. But soul power was only one of the factors. The most important factor was the will. If Naruto had learned Genjutsu, he might have been able to break through, but now it was definitely difficult. Unless, he launched an attack with soul power and completely erased Metkai's soul with one slash. Should he kill Metkai? Of course not. Metkai was one of the few people in Woodleaf that Naruto didn't hate. Besides, it wasn't certain whether he could succeed. Then he could only choose between Lee Lock, Hinata Ninji, and Tian Tian. Lee Lock, if he possessed his body, it would be very troublesome. For example, running upside down in Woodleaf with Metkai every day. Hinata Ninji, Naruto wasn't sure. After all, Byakugan was an alien, and there might be trouble. Tian Tian, forget it. Naruto didn't want to cross-dress. Lee Lock. In the perception barrier, Mekkei suddenly gave a thumbs up. Shaoli. Let's see who gets to Woodleaf first. Shaoli howled. Okay. Mekkei bared his teeth. Use your hands and run upside down. Shaoli got ready to do a handstand. Okay. The scene in front of him made Naruto's face as black as the bottom of a pot. Did he want to do this? At this moment, the auras of a few more people appeared in the perception barrier. Woof woof. Barking? Then yo. You guys just came back too? It was Tooth Inuzuka. For a moment his choices seemed to have increased a lot. Chapter 430. The moment he sensed Akamaru, Naruto dispersed the perception enchantment. Mekkei couldn't find the perception enchantment, but it didn't mean that others couldn't find it. What's more, the person who was about to come was not weak in illusion. On the ice, the snow was still falling from the sky. The branches and leaves were high and low, and the world was white. Several people in Mekkei's team stopped in place. Shaoli and Mekkei, who were standing upside down, looked up at the people who greeted them. 2 women and 2 men, 1 tall and 3 short. The tall one was Kurenai, and the taller one of the 3 short ones was a girl with brown hair and slanted bangs. The girl looked very quiet, with a kind of modesty unique to a big family. Of the 2 short boys, one wore black sunglasses and his whole face was hidden in the hood, and the other had 2 triangular red paint on his face, which was also unique. Yo. It's Kurenai. You're back too. Did the mission go well? Mekkei continued to stand upside down, and Shaoli next to him stood upside down. Tian and Hinata Ningji took a few steps back from these 2 guys. Kurenai looked over and politely replied. The mission went well. Are you going to cultivate? Go ahead, I won't disturb you. Mekkei supported himself with one hand, gave a thumbs up with the other hand, and made a smile that he thought was hearty. Then we'll meet at Woodleaf. Shaoli, come on. Let's see who gets to the gate of the village first. Oh. Chinchan. Run. A smoke signal rolled over, and the snowflakes were blown away. Naruto's body merged into the trunk and watched the 2 fools disappear in front of him. He didn't want Shaoli's body even if he died. But what made Naruto more concerned was the girl next to Kurenai. Who was she? It seemed that she replaced Hinata's original position. Oh wait, she was replacing Sakura Haruno. This girl seemed to have the same temperament as Hinata. It was a reserved temperament that only big families had. Her feet were closed together, and the tips of her toes were closer together. Her body was very straight. Standing in the wind and snow, she had the beauty of a plum blossom blooming proudly in the snow. It was neither overbearing nor ostentatious. It was quiet, but it was definitely unusual. Naruto looked at the girl. The girl seemed to sense his gaze and looked over. Naruto instinctively avoided the girl's line of sight and escaped along the roots of the tree trunk before attaching himself to another tree. Did she notice it? Was this a woman's instinct? Yagen, what are you looking at? Tooth Inuzuka noticed that the girl was staring at one spot and asked. Akamaru, who was on the ground, also looked confused. The girl called Yakumo shook her head. It's nothing. Maybe it's just the wind. Naruto didn't look directly at the girl again, but he heard their conversation clearly. This girl's name is Yakin? Could it be Kurama Yakin? The Woodleaf clan with a special Kekkei Genkai. The Kekkei Genkai's ability was to turn illusions into reality. However, because there were very few people, the Kekkei Genkai could only produce 1 person every few generations. Gradually, they faded out of sight and were easily overlooked. If it was, no need to say if it should be. Naruto glanced at the others. Excluding Tian, Hinata Ningji and Lee Locke, he could only choose now. Tooth Inuzuka. Or Aburame Root. Aburame Root's body was full of insects. What would it feel like to have the insects move in the body? Was it itchy? Did it hurt? And the insects should have a certain level of consciousness. Would they notice the change in spiritual energy? If they found out, would they attack him indiscriminately? There shouldn't be any spiritual attacks, but what if they swallowed his body? Naruto imagined the scene of the insects eating him, and his scalp was a little numb. So it seems that only Tooth Inuzuka is the most suitable. That careless appearance. His spiritual energy shouldn't be much. If it's done right, maybe he can temporarily seal the other party's consciousness? But there's a problem here. Tooth Inuzuka is a little far from him, and he's standing next to Kurenai and Yakin. If his spirit body suddenly went over, the possibility of being discovered was extremely high. What should I do? At this time, Akamaru's nose twitched and he came over. Did Akamaru discover him? No way. Is his ability that bad? Akamaru moved over and attracted the attention of the others. Everyone's eyes followed Akamaru's gaze. Naruto couldn't help but be nervous. Should he move? No, if Akamaru can really discover him, then he will be exposed. After all, a dog's nose and a woman's intuition are not the same system. Naruto tried to reduce Chakra's aura as much as possible. That is, he let his body relax so that under the influence of his will, Chakra's aura will also be weakened. Time passed second by second. Akamaru came straight to the tree. The way it twitched its nose made the people who were staring at it nervous. Yakin whispered, "Akamaru, this is..." Tooth Inuzuka's eyes were serious. Tion put his hand on the scroll pocket. Hinata Ninji frowned and raised his hand to seal Chakra's Byakugan. But at this time, Akamaru, who came under the tree, suddenly raised his leg and peed on the tree. For a while, the atmosphere was strange and awkward. Yakin and Tion snorted, and their faces were slightly red. Kurenai's nervous expression also eased, and she smiled. Of course, the most awkward one is the dog's owner, Tooth Inuzuka. He also turned his head with a look of disgust, as if to say that this is not his dog. In order to cover up the awkwardness, the others hurriedly changed the topic and exchanged a few words. What about Naruto? His little heart was still thumping. The silly dog scared him to death. Akamaru raised his leg and peed, and his little butt shook. A gust of wind blew, and it was really coquettish. Naruto looked at the silly dog, feeling both annoyed and amused. Suddenly he had an idea. He can attach to Akamaru's body first, then find an opportunity to transfer from Akamaru to Tooth Inuzuka's body. Perfect. It's simply a godsend opportunity. Naruto didn't hesitate. Quietly a black rune emerged from the bottom of Akamaru's foot, and quickly covered Akamaru's body. It was close to the skin, and with the dog's hair covering it, it couldn't be seen from the outside. Binding curse. Akamaru's body was fixed. Naruto took this opportunity to leave his body with spiritualization, and directly entered Akamaru's foot. The seal changed and Akamaru's dog eyes fell into confusion. Nerve interception. Seal. Akamaru was motionless for a second. Finally, a light flashed in the confused dog's eyes. Success. Akamaru's body is now under control. In the spiritual world, the dog cage formed by the curse seal locked the little white dog tightly. Inside the cage, the little white dog was curled up in a ball and sleeping quietly, and from time to time, it smacked its lips as if it was having a beautiful dream. Akamaru. It's almost time, it's time to go. Akamaru was sleeping, but the dog's body subconsciously barked after hearing Tooth Inuzuka's call. Then he took to his heels and scampered over to her. Naruto, who was controlling the dog, had a dark expression on his face. He suddenly felt ashamed. Chapter 431. What is the stupidest thing in the world? If someone asks Naruto, then Naruto will definitely answer by entering Akamaru's body. So what's even more stupid? He is now accompanying Tooth Inuzuka to do special training. With Leaf Inuzuka clan's training ground. Tooth Inuzuka's hands pressed on the ground, and his whole body was lying on the snow in his beast form. Akamaru transformed into Tooth Inuzuka's appearance. This is the beast seal and the human seal. Then chakra revolved around his body, rotating. Tooth intonation. Inuzuka Kiba and Akamaru turned into two tornadoes, hitting a big tree that was surrounded by three people. The tree trunk was hit by the storm formed by chakra. The snow and ice on the branches were instantly shaken, and then the trunk was torn to pieces with a creaking sound. Bang! The trunk was crushed, and Akamaru, who transformed into Tooth Inuzuka, also released the transformation. Good job, Akamaru, you finally found the state. Tooth Inuzuka was very happy to come over and rub Naruto's head. Good job? Yes, good job. Naruto endured for 3 days and finally learned this crappy ninjutsu. Then he can finally occupy Tooth Inuzuka's body with peace of mind. Naruto licked the capsule hidden under his tongue on his teeth, and then crushed it with a crunch. White gas was spat out from Akamaru's mouth, and sprayed on Tooth Inuzuka's face. Stupid Tooth Inuzuka thought that his dog was playing with him, and also spat on Naruto. But when he spat out half of the gas, his eyes turned white and he fell on the snow. Then Akamaru also fainted. Naruto's spirit body took this opportunity to easily enter Tooth Inuzuka's body. At the same time, the curse that was planted as early as last night when Tooth Inuzuka was sleeping was activated. It was a binding curse for insurance. After half an hour, Tooth Inuzuka woke up again, but the owner of the consciousness has been replaced by Naruto. Tooth Inuzuka. Favorite food is beef jerky, cartilage, and other chewy things. Daily activities is taking Akamaru for a walk. Mother Inuzuka Claw is the clan leader of the Inuzuka clan. Claw is rigid and strict. No matter what Tooth Inuzuka does, even the mealtime can't be delayed for a second. Otherwise, according to his mother's dogma, people who don't get up and go downstairs is not qualified to eat. Mother's ninja is a one-eyed black ninja dog that can speak human language. His personality is more ruthless and overbearing. Every time he sees Akamaru, he will teach him a few words. Her tone is tone often has a casual tone. A bit like the past 9 of the past. His sister is Sister Inka. Unlike his strict and even old-fashioned mother, Tooth Inuzuka's sister is a gentle person. She is a veterinarian by profession, and at the same time participates in the Woodleaf Patrol work in shifts. Sister has 3 ninja beasts, referred to as the 3 Gray Brothers. Well, they can also speak human language. The above is the daily information about Tooth Inuzuka that Naruto collected in the past 3 days in addition to learning the secret techniques of the Inuzuka clan. With this information, at least Naruto can pretend to be Tooth Inuzuka without being discovered. Lend me your body for a few days, I promise to return it to you as it is. Naruto, who possessed Tooth Inuzuka, sat up from the ground. Then he took out a card from Akamaru's mouth. First he washed it with snow. Then he very carelessly wiped it with Akamaru's dog hair. Then he pasted it on his body, and Chakra injected the card into it. The card then deformed and clung to the skin, then faded and disappeared, leaving only a curse symbol. After another 3 seconds, even the runes on the runes disappeared. System prompt. Spiritual network reconnected. System prompt. Please enter your account number. This time there is no need for Ninetales verification. Naruto directly logged in with the sub-user set up under the name of the 5-star card. As soon as he logged in, Naruto received a message from Hinata. Naruto-kun, your plan is complete? Naruto suddenly went offline just now, which made Hinata very worried, thinking that something happened to Naruto. Naruto replied, it was successful, it went smoothly. Hinata let out a long sigh. Then she was a little worried. That it won't have a bad effect on Tooth Inuzuka, right? Naruto promised. Don't worry, I used a variant of the 4 symbols seal, only sealing the consciousness, it won't hurt him. After hearing Naruto's assurance, Hinata breathed a sigh of relief. After all, Tooth Inuzuka has been taking care of her when they were in the Ninja Academy. And he also took care of Naruto. Thinking of this, Hinata felt that her worries were a little unnecessary. How could Naruto-kun do something to hurt Tooth Inuzuka? That was absolutely impossible. Then Hinata hesitated. That Naruto-kun. I want to see my... Naruto knew Hinata's thoughts. Hinata should be homesick after being away from home for a long time. Fong-Xian, just leave it to me, I'll let you see them. Hinata bit her lip and gratefully said. Naruto-kun, thank you. Naruto sighed. Silly girl, I should be the one thanking you, you left Woodleaf for me. Speaking of this matter, Naruto's heart inexplicably felt heavy. The most difficult thing to bear was the favor of a beauty. Even if the beauty was still young, just a little beauty, it was hard to bear. This kind of favor, it was very difficult to repay except by marrying her. Naruto couldn't help but feel guilty. Back then, if he didn't bring Hinata out, would it be better? After meeting Hinata's parents, Sakura Haruno also came to find him. Naruto. Naruto was very understanding and also walked around Sakura Haruno's house. But this meeting wasn't sad because Sakura Haruno's parents unexpectedly gave birth to another child. It was a boy, with pink hair like Sakura Haruno, a handsome face, and no wide forehead. After Sakura Haruno saw him and thanked him, she angrily cut off the spiritual link and went to find her Sasuke-kun again. Since Sasuke was arranged to go to the mercenary academy by second Naruto, Sakura Haruno also followed. And then, Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi met Naruto when he possessed Akamaru. That was when he turned in the mission and did the mission report. To put it simply, Kakashi, who had become the 6th Hokage, was still as frivolous as ever. He had dead fish eyes all day long and looked half asleep. Just looking at him made one want to beat him up. But what made Naruto a little emotional was that big white teeth was always by Kakashi's side. Naruto-sama. Naruto greeted Kakashi with Tooth Inuzuka's rough, wild, and somewhat shy tone. Kakashi turned his head with dead fish eyes and answered weakly, Tooth Inuzuka. His tone was very similar to Tooth Inuzuka's rhythm. It didn't take a genius to figure out that this was a reply that had been copied without going through the brain. Only Kakashi could be this lazy. Was it really okay to leave Woodleaf to him? For the first time, Naruto was worried about Woodleaf's future. You took Akamaru out for a walk? Kakashi glanced at Akamaru, who was hanging on Naruto's shoulder like a dead dog. Naruto followed Kakashi's line of sight and glanced at Akamaru on his shoulder. This child is tired from playing and has fallen asleep. Kakashi raised his eyebrows. Walking the dog until it fell asleep? This is really unique. Kakashi thought of his group of ninja dogs. Talking dogs are very difficult to please, so he didn't want to walk them at all. For example, passing by a fried chicken restaurant, the dog suddenly stopped and roared, I want to eat fried chicken. Do you want to buy it or not? Once is okay, but try eating from the beginning to the end of the street? You're pricking my heart. Besides, he had a group. Chapter 432. Goodbye to Kakashi. Naruto continued to walk in the Woodleaf with Akamaru on his shoulder. Akamaru, who was on his shoulder, was like sitting on a tractor. Without any shock absorption, he finally woke up after 100 or so times. Whoa! Akamaru screamed in pain. Awake. Naruto lifted Akamaru from his shoulder and held him in his arms and rubbed his head for a while to comfort the little guy who woke up. Akamaru's face was rubbed, and his dog eyes looked at his master dumbfoundedly. He even sniffed and confirmed that the smell was correct. After confirming that it was indeed his master, he whined helplessly to complain. Let's go, Tian is good today. Let's walk around and bask in the sun together. Naruto put Akamaru on the ground. Akamaru looked up at the sky stupidly, blue sky, white clouds, and the sun. It was indeed a good day. But how come here in the Woodleaf? Akamaru's memory was still the dog urine on the way back. While he was wondering, Naruto had walked away. Akamaru didn't have time to think about it, and chased after him. It seems to be saying that the poop picker didn't wait for me. A man and a dog walked on the street of the Woodleaf. Walk and stop, stop and walk. Until they passed by a ninja store. The store's curtain was very big, and the most important thing was that there was a sign outside the store. The sign said dog food is half price today. Naruto looked at the sign and said to Akamaru, how about it? Do you want to change your taste? Akamaru's electric buttocks shook, and his small tail shook happily. And it was more professional than the stupid Shiba Inu. At least it wouldn't shake in circles like a helicopter, and it wouldn't shake and fly. Ring. Opening the doorbell of the store rang. It was pleasant and familiar. Naruto raised his eyes and looked at the bell, which was the doorbell of the previous store. The doorbell was polished as if it was new. But Naruto could see from the details that it was the previous one. Welcome. What would you like to order? The two girls, who looked like twins, bowed at the same time. Naruto felt as if he was seeing the Sakuragi sisters. However, the person in front of him wasn't Haru Sakuratani or Natsuya Sakuragi. Naruto picked up Akamaru, who came in through the crack of the door. She simply replied, dog food. Then they were led to the dog food shelf. Akamaru's little nose twitched as he sniffed. She looked extremely adorable. However, the plastic packaging was so tight that he couldn't smell it at all. He couldn't help but frown. Naruto put down Akamaru. Choose what you want to eat. Then he turned around and left. Choose by himself? How should he choose? I can't smell anything. Akamaru's small face was serious. He turned his head and looked at the shelf again. Then Akamaru saw the picture on the dog food packaging. There were many beautiful puppies on it. There are male and female. Akamaru's eyes only fall on the female, and then choose that flavor of dog food. As for how to distinguish between male and female, it all depends on how cute they are. He just didn't know if there was a crossdresser among the puppies. On the other side, Naruto continued to contact the Sakuragi sisters through the mental network. He praised. Smart, who thought of selling dog food at half price? In the 3-person temporary chat group, Natsuya Sakuragi praised. Such a good idea. Of course it was sister who thought of it. My clumsy Sarah. Clumsy? Naruto remembered how Natsuya Sakuragi had single-handedly directed the huge compensation. Naruto, aren't you going to take a look at the casino? That place was built according to your design. It's amazing. Casino. Naruto rubbed his nose. Not yet, my current identity is Tooth Inuzuka, after all, so I need to keep a low profile. Summer continued to ask. Then what about my pastry shop? Naruto nodded. That's fine, I'll take Akamaru there in a bit. Summer happily said. Then Summer will wait for you at the pastry shop. Naruto casually picked up an item from the shelf, and with a slight force of his hand, the packaging of the item was crushed with a poof. Naruto exclaimed. Isn't your packaging too lousy? The clerk in charge of that shelf saw the item with the broken packaging. It was a bag of potato chips. The clerk said politely, You open this item, you have to buy it. Naruto frowned. But I hate the smell of barbecued meat. The clerk repeated. Then you have to buy this item, otherwise you will be listed as an unwelcome customer, and you will not be able to spend money in our shop in the future. Naruto held the bag of potato chips with a conflicted expression. At this time, Haru Sakuratani walked over. What happened? The shop assistant righteously told him what had happened. Haru Sakuratani said to Naruto. Then come with me, help me move these items to my room, and you don't have to pay. The routine was perfect. Naruto didn't read the script with Haru Sakuratani beforehand. He was simply making one move at a time. But when the two were combined, there was no problem at all. Naruto smiled and said, Okay, I'll help you move the things to your office. When the two entered the office one after the other, Naruto put 2 buckets of water on the ground and praised, Very good. Haru Sakuratani smiled. It's just SO. Then the two of them exchanged greetings. Haru Sakuratani threw a bamboo blade over, Naruto caught it, and Haru Sakuratani disappeared. Swordsmanship. Fierce battle. Dang. The bamboo blades collided, and a strong force came at him. Naruto's body wasn't his own. He lacked too much strength, and if he took it head-on, he would definitely be sent flying. Naruto turned his body sideways, and rotated to resist the force. At the same time, he took advantage of the force and turned around to throw out a quick strike. Dang. 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 The two of them went back and forth, and their speed became faster and faster. Haru Sakuratani's swordsmanship was domineering and fierce, and it was straightforward. It was said that there was no technique, but the timing and position of each attack were amazing. She specifically chose the most uncomfortable places to stab, and the places that couldn't be defended against. She was extremely fierce, and this was the highest level of technique. Patter. Naruto's bamboo blade was knocked away. Tooth Inuzuka's hand trembled uncontrollably. If he wanted to use 4 tails to lift 1,000 kilograms, he would need 1,000 tails of strength to do so. Tooth Inuzuka's body compared to Naruto's was too weak. Haru Sakuratani put away her sword and said unhappily, You didn't put in any effort to practice your swordsmanship, and you're still the same. You haven't forged for a long time, right? You're rusty at using force to fight force. This sentence was irrefutable. It was indeed so. Naruto picked up the bamboo blade and handed it to Haru Sakuratani, and said helplessly, I have too many abilities, and I don't even know what to practice and what to learn. Haru Sakuratani said concisely, practice your swordsmanship. Naruto blinked. Why? Haru Sakuratani said matter-of-factly, because killing is the easiest and saves the most effort. Is that so? Thinking of the scene of Haru Sakuratani killing people. It really is easy and saves the most effort. Naruto shrugged. All right, I'll practice my swordsmanship when I go back this time. By the way, is there any news from the store manager? The Akatsuki is hunting down the people of the underground exchange. What is his attitude? Haru Sakuratani was about to speak, but suddenly stopped. The perception barrier in this room of the store reminded her that someone was outside the door. Clang, clang, clang. There was a knock on the door. Naruto and Haru Sakuratani looked at each other. Haru Sakuratani calmed down and said, please come in. The door was pushed open, and the person outside was Shinoyomi and Akamaru. Akamaru sensed the battle and called for reinforcements. Was it that amazing? Naruto checked the perception barrier in this room when he came in, and the movement inside couldn't be transmitted to the outside. Otherwise, the two couldn't fight. Then, Shinoyomi met Silly Dog, and then Silly Dog came to him with Shino. Woof, woof. Akamaru barked twice, not fiercely, but as if he was trying to say something. Unfortunately, Naruto wasn't Tooth Inuzuka, so he couldn't understand Akamaru language. Tooth Inuzuka looked at Shinoyomi. Shinoyomi said briefly, I have a mission. After leaving the ninja store, Tooth Inuzuka asked, what happened? Shinoyomi replied briefly, Naruto came back, and stole the ashes of Yondaime-sama Naruto and Yondaime-sama Naruto. What? Naruto was confused. Chapter 433. What the hell? He's here in person? Could it be that Little Nine is here? That's impossible. Naruto contacted Little Nine through the spiritual link. Where are you? Ninetales controlled Naruto's body, standing on the mountain peak in the distance of Woodleaf, and looking into the distance. I'm basking in the sun on the mountain. What's wrong? What's the situation? Although the spiritual link between Naruto and Ninetales was two-way, Ninetales' vision was shared with Naruto from time to time. Only Ninetales took the initiative, and as long as Naruto didn't cut off the spiritual link, everything he saw and heard would be transmitted to Ninetales in real time. Naruto asked, you didn't come to Woodleaf, right? On the mountain peak, Naruto, controlled by Little Nine, turned over, lying on the mountain ridge with his hands folded behind his head, and directly replied, the person who impersonated you is not me. Hearing this, Naruto breathed a sigh of relief. In fact, Naruto didn't think it would be Ninetales. Then who could it be? Only Orochimaru. The function of the ashes in Naruto's view should be the Edo Tensei, and the people who can use the Edo Tensei, except for the people around him. Well, it's impossible for Tsunade. Wait, whose ashes did you say Naruto stole? Shinoyomi rushed towards the Naruto building and replied concisely, the fourth Naruto couple, and the third Naruto. The fourth Naruto couple. Husband-wife. Uzumaki Kushina's ashes were also taken? What does Orochimaru want to do? Threaten him with Uzumaki Kushina? Or, just to prove the authenticity of the impersonation of Naruto? Let Woodleaf mistakenly think that he wants to resurrect his parents? Indeed, in this way, Orochimaru's impersonation of Naruto will not arouse suspicion. So Orochimaru's original intention was to tell Woodleaf that Uzumaki Naruto was still alive. However, Orochimaru probably didn't know that the news of him being alive had already been exposed when the Clown Emperor's mercenaries were captured. That was why it was superfluous. This Orochimaru. Naruto shook his head with a wry smile. But the moment he heard that Orochimaru had taken Kushina away, Naruto felt as if a string in his heart had been touched. His entire person became extremely agitated. On the roof of the Naruto building, Kakashi stood in front of the ninjas. He ordered, you guys go patrol the prison. Capture any suspicious person you find. Remember to capture them alive. In the crowd, Shikamaru said, Naruto, Sama, Should we strengthen the security around the village to prevent Naruto from escaping? Shikamaru glanced at his son, but didn't say anything because he was also curious. Kakashi looked at Shikamaru and said with certainty, "No, if he is Naruto, then he will never escape now." Shikamaru looked at Kakashi. Kakashi's eyes were very firm. Shikamaru suddenly realized that in the prison, there should be something that Naruto cares about. The person that Naruto cares about is in the prison? Who could it be? Hinata? Shikamaru Nara thought of Hinata who disappeared, but then he shook his head. If Hinata is locked in the prison, the Hyuga clan can't be so stable. It's impossible for there to be no news at all. Shikamaru Nara thought. Kakashi ordered, "Shikamaru Nara, take Tooth Inuzuka, Hinata Ninji and Shino Yomi into the prison. If you encounter Naruto, you find a way to keep him. It doesn't matter if you can't keep him. We will guard outside. Pay attention to your own safety." Shikamaru Nara was shocked and pointed to himself and said with uncertainty, "I lead the team? I'm just a genin, right?" For a moment, Shikamaru Nara suddenly regretted his words. This kind of trouble. Isn't it too late to avoid it? Kakashi didn't say much and turned to the others and began to distribute. The other jonins were sent by Kakashi to the periphery of the village to chase or block the village. Shikamaru Nara could see that this was just an illusion. The purpose was to lure Naruto out from hiding in the wood leaf. In the crowd, Naruto, who was controlling Tooth Inuzuka's body, blinked. Others don't know why they are guarding the prison, but he knows very well. That is, the Clown Emperor and his 3 women are in the prison. Oh my god. Is this the legendary god helping me? No, it's Orochi helping me. This is interesting. If Orochimaru knows, I don't know if he will be angry. Just now, Naruto was worried about the whereabouts of the Clown Emperor and his 3 women, but now he doesn't have to worry. After Kakashi issued the order, the ninjas dispersed. At this time, Kakashi handed Shikamaru an envelope. You go to the bottom of the prison and keep an eye on these 3 targets. Shikamaru looked at the 3 photos and then passed them to the others. When it was Naruto's turn, Naruto couldn't help but feel emotional. It was indeed those 3 girls. The president, 04 and 05. These 3 silly girls actually came to the woodleaf to look for him. How should he put it? He was quite moved. He recalled what Zero told him about the president's words. Since they're the Clown Emperor's subordinates, I have to take them back even if I have to. Sight's so silly. They're so cute. Woof. Woof. Akamaru stared at the photos for a few times before barking twice, as if saying that he remembered them. Naruto handed the photos to Kakashi, and so everyone hurried over to the prison. But then again, how did Kakashi know that Naruto knew where the 3 women were being held? Did he intentionally leak the information when he discovered Naruto? Or did he intend to spread the information before? The prison had a total of 12 floors. After entering, Naruto saw an old acquaintance. It was Mizuki, one of Orochimaru's abandoned pawns. What are you kids doing here? Could it be that something has happened outside? The others in the cell where Mizuki was being held looked over at him. But apart from Akamaru, who replied with a woof, everyone else ignored him. They hurriedly walked past him and headed deeper into the prison. Soon Naruto saw the 3 girls. Naruto's cell had a lightning talisman on it. The 3 of them weren't tied up, so they seemed quite free. They also had a complete set of tools, from toilets to bathing beds. Naruto didn't rashly use mental link to communicate with them directly. Instead, he observed them for a while, observing their behavior and how they sat. After confirming that they weren't fake ninjas, he carefully contacted them with a fake mental link. I'm the one who saved you. Relax, and don't let anyone discover that I'm talking to you. The 3 of them had decent mental fortitude, so they didn't show any abnormalities. Now relax and don't resist me, and you'll be able to communicate with me. 04 and 05 secretly looked at the president, waiting for instructions. The president didn't move. He didn't accept the mental link. Not enough trust. Naruto spoke. Lightning Country, get fat, lose weight at sea. The president accepted the invitation. And then 04 and 05 also accepted. Then the scene in front of the three girls changed, and they appeared in the Lightning Country. Naruto didn't reveal his true appearance, using the appearance of Tooth Inuzuka. 04 was the first to speak. Did Naruto ask you to save us? Naruto, disguised as Tooth Inuzuka, replied. Yes. 04 firmly said. What about him? Will he come with us? If he doesn't, I won't either. Naruto looked at 04, who stared at him like an angry tiger cub. Then Naruto looked at the other two girls. 05 nodded repeatedly. Yes. He must come with us. The president didn't say anything, but his serious expression said everything. Looking at the three of them, Naruto couldn't help but complain. Are you stupid? You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.